Choke, no joke, you know what it is. Let's go, let's go. I inspire y'all to all want more. Don't listen to these fakes and these frauds. They don't own cars with Lamborghini doors. When high show cut, it's back to the store. I was born in the Jackson, this shit was hell. The place where I saw soldiers fall. Some simply for nothing at all. Some cause they lived on the other side of the wall. Now this might sound crazy, love what the hood made me. Poverty made me far from lazy. This ain't the place you wanna raise your babies. Young girls out here thinking they lazy. Nose powdered white, they brain all hazy. Ask them what they wanna be, they look at you crazy. These young cats out here looking all angry. I was just like them, sometimes the music made me act other than myself, no influence lately. Cause behind the scenes, they not living greatly. And I found out that most of these cats never sold jacks or the penitentiary. Let's go. I inspire y'all to all want more. Don't listen to the face and these frauds. They don't own cars and Lamborghini doors. The hype your cut is back to the store. I inspire y'all to all want more. Don't listen to the face and these frauds. They don't own cars and Lamborghini doors. The hype your cut is back to the store. They not selling drugs, they really not thugs. If they was, where are the slugs? Do you see them when you cop your drugs? Pulling up with S to B in the front? Nah, it's not what they got, it's what they want. In the jungle, we all on the hunt. It's chemical. It's chemical beats. You know what it is. This go out to all the PJs around the world. Either war.
Nah, way back.
Sound
Back.
Niggas and guns. Yeah. Let's go. Choke, no joke. It's all the projects in the world. You ever been to a project barbecue? Yes, I have. Played the half, extra hours for more cash. To go half on that coke and yak. Get to the block cause it get packed. Little babies, adults or crack. We feed them too, we don't pump like that. Plus it's like us, giving back. And they sales is the reason why we got so many packs of chicken. The hood not missing. Muslim said don't put pork on chicken. They got on Al about that, they thought he didn't listen. He wasn't been touched from them government missions. But they forget that when they bite that chicken, this is when the players get knocked, cause it's hot out. The sexy show out, glowing with the back glass on the mouth. She see you with the next chick, then she dumb out. Hustlers dumb out, just for nothing. Bustin' for attention, just dumbin'. Cause we know y'all ain't bustin' nothing. You ever been to a project barbecue? Kiss sprinklers, deep thinkers, playing chess, hot heads on your left, blowing gas. Or Puerto Ricans playing handball, Miguel and Heck on the court. Niggas wanna be like Mike. Life's a box of chocolates, you're riding a pipe, playing the bench, kids on the fence. Watch your po-po, chase Prince. Don't dismiss your brethren for dumb shit. Keep it gangster, don't shit where you live. 12-1 right up in your crib. You never been nowhere, where else could you live?
What's that?
That's gangsta boo coming through. Throwing it up, fucking his muffler up. Scraping the concrete with Willie's so sweet. He got escorts by the chief of police from 233rd, Laconia to Gun Hill Road. Got knocked, didn't tell like Joe.
Period.
Okay.
Choke, no joke. You know what it is. Stay the hell. Don't follow those cats. The niggas that be on the gram, tell Bobo what they doing. Choke, no choke. You know what it is. Yo, y'all niggas better stay DL. Down low. Stop flossing, man. You just want them to just come and get you? Learn from our mistakes, man. That's what this is about. Learn from mistakes. Choke, no joke. Let's go. You already know. Make it low, let's go. My aim was enlightened, drop jewels on you. You thinking I'm jealous, I ain't got cheddar like you. I'm the dude to a game, you got school. Was a local cat snatcher when I made moves. I'm paranoid and preaching, you was sleeping. Knew you was sneak thief and couldn't see us beefing. Learn from mistake, don't show I got cake. Impress a nigga to rob me, bitch seal my fate. Get knocked by the fans, lay up for about 8. Ass so busy flossing, ain't thinking about Jake. Loose, yapping, they wiretapping, videotaping, your ways in action. Front like time's hard, two-door garage, ice like Liberage, with no damn jaw, without a reasonable doubt. You think you Jay-Z with your platinum jewelry, he got a job, B. You shining on doctors with 4 degrees, laughing cause I'm broke on the streets. Stay DL, BDL and Sal. You ain't DL when your name ring bells. Stay DL, BDL and Sal. You ain't DL when your name ring bells. Stay DL, BDL and Sal. You ain't DL when your name ring bells. Shh, let's go. For beef, we not dolo. For cash, you go solo. Thought I was your man, shot me down like Manolo. Thought I was your partner when you played me was whack. No niggas dust that I wouldn't flip like that. What gives? See your man struggle while you live? That's some shit. Struggling, give you the kicks. Used to stick for gooses. Warm when we pump deuces. Break night in the jacks, trying to see millions like Brewster. You don't act like you used to. I'm the dude. When niggas was friends, like no joke, I'm new. I wet you like McLean for those who claim to be pain. The game of death, that's what you get when got game. Ill with automatics, we're never static. You carry at niggas, put one in your cabbage. Fear, don't have it, you fill me with laughter. And OGSC, then I'm original gun clapper. Like Dan Gadapper, see a mill be Casper. Like Dre the doctor, the math from after. Stay DL, BDL and Sal. You ain't DL when your name ring bells. Stay DL, BDL and Sal. You ain't DL when your name ring bells. Stay DL, BDL and Sal. You ain't DL when your name ring bells. Nigga, y'all loud, louder than the weed, nigga. Thinking with your pockets, caught the ice lockets. She somewhere in Houston, you blew like a rocket. Her seed was bait, through the line she caught it. Gave her all that loot, she couldn't afford it. Frontin' to them bitches, yo, I'm feeling him. Blue puff in your face, daddy, all about Benjamin. Remember me, I'm your friend to the end. Like Chucky, used to slay bitches like Buffy. Thinking why they cuff me, think of the luxuries you had. In the cell with other willies, you brag. I push the big Benz with 20-year trims. When in the club, Chris for all my men. Sitting across the bar, what's up, star? Back to reality, you back in bars. You chose not to listen, had the H-class blizzard. Knew the rules of the game, played yourself out position. Stay DL, BDL and Sal. You ain't DL when your name ring bells. Stay DL, BDL and Sal. You ain't DL when your name ring bells. Stay DL, BDL and Sal. You ain't DL when your name ring bells.
Yo, son, yo.
Check it out. Choke, no joke. Learn from mistakes. DJ S&S the Great. It ain't no telling you be a first-time felon. No telling when you be a first-time felon. It ain't no telling you be a first-time felon. No telling when you be a first-time felon. Best day of my life, no sleep all night. Broke day for weeks, my cash was right. My capo tight, take our loot, unite. 23-hour shifts, had to see loot like Mike. Cash, lovely, yeah, Dougie. How could this day get so ugly? Wifey bout to pop, like some bubbly. Yo, doodles now most, you really cop first car, get up with the guard. What it is, baby pa? He about to cop a van, get up with our mans. Before we reached our low spot, toes blam. Unaware what happened, discussing and clapping. It wasn't loud, ain't shit gonna happen. Me being stupid, instead of getting they moving, this nigga kept chefing like the woo one. Then we heard a knock, no one knew of this spot. 6 niggas in the spot, 6 niggas not. Ain't no telling you be a first time felon. No telling when you be a first time felon. It ain't no telling you be a first time felon. No telling when you be a first time felon. It ain't no telling you be a first time felon. No telling when you be a first time felon. I'm in the precinct all damn even. This good cop, bad cop shit got me steaming. No, I was caught, I ain't give a fuck. Had jokes like the usual suspects line up. Book times up, came back fuck. Shirt wrinkled up, my pigs roughed me up. Time's up, heard them clink of the cuffs. Niggas was so deep they had to call on the bus. Everybody that checks outside waiting on us like ghetto celebs. Our cells ain't plush. 5 in the book and gave a whooping. He never forget, they gotta be split. Up in the courtroom, they cause it ruckus. Everybody in the jacks waiting on us. Try to bail us out, that thought got thrown out. Bill was so high, I couldn't be a half a nigga out. Copped out, that's what first fell in the bow. Back on the bus, Rikers the row. Wifey in the courtroom crying out. We love y'all with tears running in their mouth. It ain't no telling you be a first time felon. No telling when you be a first time felon. It ain't no telling you be a first time felon. No telling when you be a first time felon. Yeah, choke no joke.
KK on
New life. They said I'll be dead or in jail. They was half right, I saw right can sell. I knew I wasn't rich when I couldn't make bail. I made out good, 5 niggas that didn't tell. Hold up, don't go to trial when caught up. Roll the dice, watch the numbers just go up. When you're off for what's short as a pup's nuts, you got the whammy, cause you pressed your luck. You could've been back on the town, industry bound, no more busting it down. To court is half O's, having to catch the flow, and reassuring those who act like they don't know that the ratchet let go. If you think we won't fill them hollow points up with mercury, send them to another planet, leave them screaming like Mike Janet. Niggas can't stand it. I felt champagne with Ross running the game. When I was locked and the CO jumped in my face, talking gangster, nigga. Like I'm not a fucking gangster, nigga. But you got it in here, cause the odds ain't fair. Cause you got that walkie and that button right there. But after 8 hours, you leave here. And that's when you friend, it's not fair. You shoot at the range, we shoot when in range. Roll up in that range, your face look real strange. The look on my face is I got that aim. Before you reach, you feel the pain. Blood stain, calculate to your brain. You've been licked by that thing. In the game of death, that's what you get when got game. It's a method to the madness, how I bring the pain of one that's not sane. Joke, no joke, I do my thing. They say you're nobody until they kill you. I'm somebody alive, guess that make me an ill dude. Made my name before the funeral, considered a legend and still make moves. They know you when you gone, they know me when I'm on. All over the board, you restricted, you pawn. You wouldn't cut a lawn, blow a candle at dawn. Choke got it going on like fuel. Some of you fools is more ass than mule. Never rule like Rick, but Mona Lisa in your crib. Haters mad cause I'm doing what they wish they did. Without the rock, it's still gunning like Chris. Nigga try to block, I time him off this shit. Nigga looking down at me, now he looking at dick. Pause, that's just the term and shit. It's choke, no joke. Nigga, I'm lit. Choke, no joke. Yeah. It's choke, no joke.
Supreme Bigger Figure, Big Cap, The Warden, The Club King,
the DJ Johnny Walker Red,
MC Frank Jigger, the celebrity's choice.
Sean Brophy, sound engineer.
Choke No Joke, legendary videographer.
Sterling Cox, I was the head of security.
Alpha Grinya.
My name is V.
Omega, Big G.
Vim Rock from the legendary Naughty by Nature.
Styles P the Ghost, LOX, D Block.
Tech Smith and Wesson.
LB Fan, Mr. Cheeks.
The Cool, the DJ, the Red Alert.
Kid Capri.
The tunnel was a hip-hop nucleus.
It was the epicenter.
It was the domain, the temple.
It was the Mecca.
Nothing was that melting pot of hip-hop.
They kept the paradigm going.
It's almost like what Rucker did for street basketball. The tunnel was that of music industry.
My Sunday ritual going to the tunnel was, I'm telling you, your ass better be there.
You just pretty much did push-ups.
We had to drink a couple bottles of Hennessy, go get smoked.
Leave the jewelry and watches at home.
Before you even get to the tunnel, you gotta get on the block.
You started from 11th Avenue, and when you got to that door, the search procedures was no other.
First time I ever heard of take your shoes off, open your mouth was in the tunnel. It was damn near everything but a full cavity search.
Security at the tunnel was no joke.
The beatdowns did happen.
Some of them, you had that chain out, that shit was leaving with one of them niggas.
We had a handful of cats. When we were taking you out, they were digging in your pockets.
The code check at the tunnel was crazy because you didn't know if you was gonna get your shit back.
Sometimes the bloops happen where you might not get your coat.
A lot of boys wanted to get their girls some fur coats, you know? So, I mean, it was free.
The bar was always on till after the tunnel.
You might get fake alcohol. Bartenders might have got counterfeit.
The dance floor is always rocking.
It looked like a video all the time.
The tunnel had a very unique situation at the bathroom. It was co-ed.
The bathroom was Sodom and Gomorrah.
I was like this, trying to look past the dudes like when they was going in the urinal.
The tunnel was a one-stop shop. They had food, they had alcohol, drugs.
I saw weed the tunnel. It was just oozing money.
Backstage is like the club amongst the club.
That's where all the so-called stars who was scary to be in the crowd, that's where they hung out at.
The dopest things about the tunnel for me to remember is hearing my records get played up in there.
The top, maybe, of all-time tunnel banger.
Or anything bad boy.
Every Biggie record, any shit by Hov.
Shook Ones was bananas in there.
Nori performed that Bang Bang.
Annie up.
Any one of Buster joints.
Wild Out would actually start a fight.
The best performance I ever seen, Jay-Z performed in front of the DJ booth. The DJ booth was bouncing like a ball.
Snoop and Dre, when Dre was there.
DMX, Get At Me, dog.
The king of the tunnel was Jay-Z.
Busta Rhymes.
DMX is the king.
Queen of the tunnel.
Mary J. Blige. Foxy and Lil' Kim. Eve.
King of the tunnel record label-wise was Def Jam.
Bad Boy.
The best DJ at the tunnel was Flex.
Big Cap, all day. Flex used to break off the records, but he used to try to bully Cap, like, don't spin this, because when I get here, I want to spin it. No, nigga, fuck wrong with you?
What the tunnel did for artists, it solidified their street music.
That gave us a platform, set up Rough Riders, Rockefeller, Bad Boy, slew of other artists.
The closing of the tunnel, it was kind of sad because that was a big piece of hip hop.
So losing the tunnel was like a little kid losing Disney.
A famous mosque closing down.
I think when the tunnel closed, it was necessary. Niggas was coming to missing.
When you hear people of the late 70s talked about Studio 54, the tunnel was the Studio 54 of hip hop.
Out now on my website, ChokeNoJokeProductions.com. Hey, what up, y'all? Choke, no joke, jiggy choke, no joke. Choke, no joke, jiggy joke, no joke. You know what it is. We here now, y'all. All right. We live, all right? YouTube, Patreon, LinkedIn, Twitter. You know, we live all across the board right now. Shout out to my Twitter gang. Shout out to my man Major Ant. Always hold me down on Twitter. Shout out to my LinkedIn crew. You know, y'all know who y'all are. Bigger BX in the BX. What up? Bigger BX in the building. Okay. Suki in the building. Holla. Angel in the building. Vaughn in the building. Jaden in the building. All right. In search of I student in the building. Michelle Frizzy in the building. Love Angel. Pretty gangsters in there. Okay. Yeah, getting them books, pretty gangster. Sheila, what up? Sherry, what up? Rudolph, what up? Let's get it going. Said Friggity in the building. Fred said Friggity, you know where the niggity is. All right, SLV in here. It's a lot of y'all in here already. All right, God, doggone it. I love it. I love the love. Mike Flizzy, Patreon gang in here. See you, Mike Flizzy. Turn my hat around. Because the beat got me looking a little dark. All right, y'all. Since I played a lot of music, I'm going to jump straight into it. We're going oh, you know what? Let me update y'all first. Let me pull this up. You know, because we are a little behind with the testimony. So I want to show y'all. I want to give y'all an update on what happened today. So let me pull that up. Okay, now you know the routine. Let's get the legal stuff out the way. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by the copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips to balance in favor of fair use. Okay, we're going to keep that up there in the corner. And hold on, our commercial's going to come on first.
The unknown is not
Oh, F you, lady.
It's a
Okay, here we go. All right, so today, for the testimony that I'm reading now, is the girl Jane, which is Sparkle's niece. but they call her Jane in there, and that is the girl from the infamous P tape, or the girl that got peed on in the video, but I'll refer to it as the P tape. All right. So the girl, if you want to know the girl's name, there's plenty of people in the comments. They will always tell you her name. I refer to her as Jane because that's how the prosecution is doing it, to protect her identity, even down to the sketch artist is, you know, drawing her as a blank face and different color hair. But trust, you know, that the people in the comments, they got you. If you have any any questions as to what her name is. But you know, she do say on in the case that she is Sparkle Niece. So if you know who Sparkle Niece is and you know who Sparkle's sister is, this is their daughter. Now, today, Sparkle's sister testified in court, who is the mother of the girl in the video, who in 2002 testified that that was not her daughter. She said that was not her daughter, and she testified that her daughter testified that it wasn't her, and the father testified it wasn't her. But today, for some strange reason, R. Kelly's broke, and it seems like a lot of people have a different story. So let me give you a quick breaking news update, what happened in court today, because we will catch up to that and we will read those transcripts. But right now we had Jane's, the girl from the P tapes, testimony. And if you've been following us for the last few days, then you are up to speed. If not, I will be uploading them and dropping them in parts, so you ain't got to watch the whole 4 hours. So, you know, starting today, I'll put up the first part leading into, which will be tomorrow. You'll get all the testimony by people in parts. Okay. So now tonight we will continue with Jane. This is part 4 of us doing it because these testimonies are long. You know, I didn't graduate from Harvard, so I don't read through it like, no, okay? I do the best that I can do. And those who have a problem with it, I got something for you to eat, okay? Now, the mother testified today, and with her testifying today, this is what happened. And remember, we still under the fair use.
Key witness taking the stand late this afternoon.
We just heard from the mother of the young woman at the center of the child pornography case. CBS 2's Tara Molina is live at the courthouse with that late-breaking testimony. And Tara, we want to warn viewers, some of the testimony is graphic.
Right, Erica and Jim, this woman is going by Susan, and she's the mother of the pivotal witness in this case. That's Jane. She says she first met R. Kelly through her sister, Stephanie, who was a musician working with Kelly at the time. Susan says she met Kelly at a concert her daughter Jane was performing at, just 14 years old at that time. That's when Jane first met Kelly too, introduced by her sister Stephanie, Jane's aunt, who again was working with Kelly back then. The next time Susan met Kelly, at the recording studio when the family went to support Stephanie. Shortly after that, she says she learned her daughter had asked R. Kelly to be her godfather. When asked by prosecutors how she felt about that, Susan said she felt kind of strange. Why? She said because she knew her sister Stephanie told Jane to ask Kelly. Jane testified that it was shortly after she asked Kelly to be her godfather, their relationship became sexual. When asked by prosecutors about how things changed after her daughter asked Kelly to be her godfather, Susan says she started going to Kelly's house a lot with his wife and kids, mostly on the weekends. When asked what she believed Jane was doing at the house with Kelly, Susan said movies, shopping, hanging out with the kids. Earlier today, we also heard testimony from a special agent with the IRS who detailed about $79,000 in payments made to Susan and her late husband, Brandon, on behalf of Kelly's companies. We'll have more on that and more from Susan coming up in our live report at 6 o'clock. For now, reporting live inside Dirksen Federal Courthouse, I'm Tara Molina, CBS 2 News.
See you at 6, Tara.
With the mission of helping the city's homeless and at-risk community.
Now, hold on a second.
Facing expensive vitamin C creams with dull.
Got another update. All right, we got an update, y'all. Check.
The man who says he paid what?
Another key witness took the stand today in day 7 of the R. Kelly federal trial here in Chicago.
We heard from the man who says he was paid by Kelly and his team to recover sex tapes featuring Kelly and an underage girl. CBS 2's Tara Molina is joining us with those details. And Tara, some disturbing information in court today.
Jim and Erica, disturbing, and we want to warn all of you about that. The entire testimony today revolving around child pornography tapes and payoffs. The man testifying, Charles Freeman, was granted an immunity deal by the government to go on the record. He not only knew about the nature of the tapes he was paid to retrieve and recover, but made copies of them himself to be sure he'd be paid. And he kept those copies for years. Charles Freeman testified he started working with R. Kelly in the 90s, doing merchandising for Kelly's concert tours. He said the two became friends, a relationship that changed when he says Kelly called him in 2001, telling him he wanted him to recover some tapes. Ultimately, Freeman said he verbally negotiated a $1 million payout in exchange for the original tape, but only $140,000 in a written contract. Freeman says within days he traveled to Atlanta to an address provided by Kelly's team with 2 men. Testifying, a young lady came to the door. He told her he was there to recover the expletive tapes you stole from Robert Kelly. She put her hands up and pointed him in the right direction. He left with 3 tapes. Only one was a tape involving Kelly. He then went to a Walmart and purchased a VCR recorder and blank tapes, making copies because he didn't trust Kelly's team to pay him. Freeman testified observing in the tape he recovered and copied Kelly having sex with a young girl, urinating on her and putting lotion on her face. He said you can hear both Kelly and the girl refer to her body parts as 14 years old. He never called the police. Prosecutors asked why. At one point, he said, quote, because the police wasn't going to pay me $1 million. In 2019, Freeman turned the copies over to his attorney after an attorney
Now, Freeman's demands for all in Freeman turned the copies over to his attorney after he never called the police.
Hold on for a minute. So you tell me this slime bucket was sent to retrieve the tapes. And Not only do he go get the tapes back, and he get paid to go get the tapes, he go and make copies of them, made copies of child pornography. How do y'all not lock him up? Oh, y'all gave him immunity to come up here and say he made copies of child pornography. But as long as he testify and say that on the stand, he could walk. This nigga supposed to be going to jail too. He's supposed to be going to jail too. If he got the originals, that's where it could have came all. He could have distributed it all around the world.
Prosecutors asked why. At one point, puppies because he didn't trust Kelly with two men. Testifying, a young lady came to the door. He told her he was there to recover the expletive tapes you stole from Robert Kelly. She put her hands up and pointed him in the right direction. He left with 3 tapes. Only one was a tape involving Kelly. He then went to a Walmart and purchased a VCR recorder and blank tapes, making copies because he didn't trust Kelly's team to pay him. Freeman testified observing in the tape he recovered and copied Kelly having sex with a young girl, urinating on her, and putting lotion on her face. He said you can hear both Kelly and the girl refer to her body parts as 14 years old. He never called the police. Prosecutors asked why. At one point, he said, quote, because the police wasn't going to pay me $1 million. In 2019, Freeman turned the copies over to his attorney after an attorney reached him about holding child porn for Robert Kelly, and that's what led to his involvement in this trial. Now, Freeman's demands for all of the money owed continued for years. He was paid in installments all the way up to and after the 2008 trial where Kelly was acquitted. We expect cross-examination to start tomorrow morning. Defense attorneys will question Freeman in the testimony we heard today. And it could get heated. In their opening statements, they called him a con man and an extortionist. Reporting live in the newsroom, I'm Tara Molina, CBS 2 News.
Thank you, Tara.
Okay, one more update, y'all. Just one more update. This is so we are up to speed with what went on, yesterday and today.
R. Kelly. Dramatic testimony late this afternoon from another key witness. This time, the mother of the alleged victim at the center of the child pornography case. And a warning, some of the testimony is disturbing. CBS 2's Tara Molina is live outside the courthouse. Tara.
Erica, this woman is going by Susan, and she's the mother of the pivotal witness in this case, Jane. Testifying here today, she denied knowing anything was going on, any sexual relationship between her then 14-year-old daughter and Kelly, when Jane started spending more and more time with him. Again, we want to warn you, some of this could be disturbing. Susan, taking the stand for the first time, promised anonymity. The sketch of her in court has been obscured. Susan testified she and her 14-year-old daughter met Kelly at a local high school where Jane was performing, introduced by her sister, Jane's aunt. When she learned her daughter had asked R. Kelly to be her godfather, Susan testified she felt kinda strange. When asked why, she said because she knew her sister told Jane to ask Kelly that. Last week, Jane testified it was shortly after she asked Kelly to be her godfather, their relationship became sexual. Susan said her daughter started going to Kelly's house a lot with his wife and kids, mostly on the weekends. When asked what she believed Jane was doing at the house, Susan said movies, shopping, hanging out with the kids. Prosecutors say Jane and her parents were paid and threatened by Kelly and his team so they wouldn't testify at the 2008 trial. Susan spoke to those threats, detailing the meeting arranged in Oak Park, where she says she first learned of her daughter's sexual relationship with the singer about 2 weeks after the Department of Children and Family Services reached them. Susan said at that meeting, Kelly asked her and her husband, "Are you with us or are you not?" and felt that meant they were going to harm us, saying she felt both fearful and frightened. They were sent out of the country by Kelly and his team right after that meeting. When asked about the grand jury she lied to after getting back from that trip, Susan admitted she did not identify her daughter Jane in photos and videos shown to the grand jury, even though she knew it was her, but did identify R. Kelly. In cross-examination, Kelly's lead attorney asked Susan about a number of visits she made alone to Kelly's recording studio after meeting him, directly asking her about an intimate relationship she had with Kelly. Susan denied that intimate relationship and said she was making those visits to talk about business and get advice from Kelly. Reporting live outside the federal courthouse, I'm Tara Molina, CBS 2 News.
Tara, thank you.
The $6 your way deal at Burger.
And all those clips was used under fair use, you know, under the section of 107 of the Copyright Act, 1976. So, according to the defense, R. Kelly was smashing the mother, the sister, and the daughter. That nigga, he made Billy D. Williams look like Shabba Ranks. That nigga's sleeping with two sisters and the mother. They need to put that nigga on People magazine, the most handsomest man alive, God damn it. God damn. Woo! Of course the mother going to deny it, but if you was going to meet him for business, why you ain't have your husband with you? Okay then, lady. We know what time it is, lady. You think Sparkle popping off, your daughter popping off, and we gonna believe you ain't getting none. Okay. That nigga R. Kelly, boy. Woo! That nigga R. Kelly ain't never seen the coochie he didn't like. I bet you R. Kelly had more sex than Will Chamberlain. I bet you R. Kelly had more women than Will Chamberlain. How many Will Chamberlain said he had? Like 1 million? I think he said he slept with like 1 million women. R. Kelly had at least 3 million. That nigga was knocking down 3 in one household. Psh, God damn. Damn, R. Kelly. You hit the mama too? Whoa. Let's get into it, y'all. Let's get into this transcript, man. Because it's about to get real good. So, where I left off was the cross by Leon on Jane, who is, y'all know, the girl from the sex tape. Excuse me. Let me go back a little bit so we can flow into where we left off. Okay, let's see. I'll go back just one page. Okay. And you testified that Mr. Kelly went through great lengths to keep this sexual relationship between the two of you a secret. Correct? And that meant lying to everyone around you. Correct? Because if anyone found out you were concerned they would threaten to ruin his life. Correct. And he was concerned. Yes. And they could, in fact, ruin his life with this information. Yes. And you also said yesterday you weren't there when Mr. Kelly called Milton Brown and told him to pick you up. Correct. So you don't know what Mr. Kelly told Milton Brown. No. You have no idea if he told Milton Brown why you were having that tattoo covered up. I don't. Okay. All you know is that Mr. Kelly needed to keep his secrets a secret. Correct. Okay. So let's talk about the drive to the tattoo parlor. But first, let's talk about some rules. Mr. Kelly has some rules for you, right? Yes. And this included even how you behaved when you were being driven somewhere. Yes. Okay. And these rules meant to control you. Yes. And control his employees. Correct. That was part of his way of hiding his secret. Yes. Of making sure that he could continue living his double life. Yes. Okay. The man who worked for Mr. Kelly, could they not speak to any of his guests or his artists? Yes. Yes, they could speak to them. Right. Oh, okay. They would be in trouble if they did. Yes. Even get fired. Yes. Not paid. Yes. Okay. Mr. Kelly would even get mad at you if you broke the rules. Correct? So you followed his rules? Yes. Okay. So when you get in the car with Milton, you sit in the back seat? Correct. He was the chauffeur. Yes. Okay. Even if there was only you in the car, you're sitting in the back seat? Yes. I think you said yesterday you had no conversation about the tattoo with Milton. Right. You had no conversation at all with Milton on the way there. No. Okay. And you had no conversation with him because you knew the rules? Correct. So now we're going to move on to when you get to the tattoo parlor. Okay. Again, Mr. Kelly had already given you the directions on what was going to happen. Milton was going to drive you there, and you were going to get the tattoo covered up. Yes. And for all y'all who's new and didn't catch the previous testimony, the 14-year-old girl, when after the sex tape came out or the P tape came out, her and her family went over to Mexico. When she went over to Mexico, she's saying that she snuck off and got a tattoo with his name on it, on her, which now to me sound like somebody advised her to get the tattoo because it'll help more in the extortion tip of it, allegedly, in my mind. Who's letting a 14-year-old girl daughter get a tattoo? And of somebody's name, even though she said, oh, she snuck off and she went off and did it by herself. You snuck off in Mexico while you was with your parents, just you, your mother, and father, y'all in Mexico. And you tell me at 14 in Mexico, you was able to sneak off and get a goddamn tattoo, yet alone a tattoo with the name Robert on you at 14. And I'm supposed to believe that? At 14, you went in Mexico. You wandered off in Mexico? Girl, they'd have been selling your body parts. Like, come on. 14 years old? You will be working as a sex slave somewhere and trafficking. You telling me at 14 years old, you broke off from your parents on a trip to Mexico and went and got a tattoo. And we supposed to really believe that? I want to curse so bad. That S word. We really supposed to believe that. 14. Listen, y'all, I know I done heard some crazy stories in my life. But you're not going to tell me no 14-year-old first time in Mexico in their life wandered off to a tattoo parlor and got a tattoo without her parents at 14? Somebody boo-boo the fool, but I tell you, it ain't me. It ain't me. Let me move on. So that's what's going on. If you need to catch up, that's what's going on. All right. So when we're going to move on to when you go to the tattoo parlor, okay, again, Mr. Kelly had already given directions on what was going to happen. Milton was going to drive you there and you were going to get the tattoo covered up. Yes. So when you get to the tattoo parlor, it wasn't what you were expecting. It was a house. Yes. How are you leading her? You're testifying for her. Like, how is that even a question? So when you get to the tattoo parlor, it wasn't what you were expecting. It was a house. It sounded like she told you that. How the hell would you know what was she expecting when she got there and how it looked? Clearly, there's been some coaching going on here. Because how would you know that information? I would have called an objection right there. Yes. Milton let you know you arrived at the address. I just need a verbal answer. Yes. Okay. And you and Milton go into the house? Yes. And even though it looked like a home from the outside, when you get inside, it's actually been transformed into a tattoo parlor. Yes. This nigga is like, he's testifying for her. Like, how would you know this if she didn't tell you this once before? So you walk into what looks like a living room area. Yes. And that area is kind of like a waiting area, right? Uh-huh. How is he like testifying for her? Like, he's saying these questions, but he's really letting the jury know, oh, she walked into a living room area and it was like an area, a waiting room area, because she done told him this story. And the question should have been, so when you walked in, what did it look like? Oh, it looked like a living room area. Oh, okay. Was it a living room? Oh, no, it was actually a waiting room area. But they don't have this conversation, so you can tell he's coaching. So he's bringing the questions to get her to just say yes, and he's really testifying to the jury her interactions at the tattoo parlor because they already interviewed her. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, man. A slow person could see this. Okay, and they take you to a private area or something that has a little tattoo set up? Yes. Question should have been, so where did they take you? Oh, they took me to this. You could tell that they already had this conversation. Where did they take you? Oh, they took me over to this little area where but they don't trust in her to remember everything. So they flipping the script and they doing the wording and just having her reply with yes and no to help their case to paint the picture for the jury, because she's not going to paint it as good as them. I don't know how the defense is allowing them to do this, but they get away with some very slick tactics as far as painting a picture for the jury right here, in my opinion. Yes, like any other tattoo shop, correct. And it's like it's like a sanitized location. People aren't just walking around freely. Correct. Okay. You said yesterday that you spoke to the tattoo artist. Yes. And you let them know the direction that Mr. Kelly had given you. Yes. You had a tattoo, you needed it covered up. Yes. Okay. And the artist did just that. He covered up the tattoo. I think you said he shaded it in. Yes. Okay. And when you're done, okay, and when you were done, you came out and you and Milton left. Yes. Okay. And yesterday you testified that Milton never talked to the tattoo artist. Correct. And you also said yesterday that you had no conversation with Milton on the drive back to, I believe it was the studio. Yes. Okay. I want to move on to the bags that you were talking about. Yes. Okay. So Milton not only drives you, but he drives a lot of people, right? Yes. Guests, artists, other celebrities, Mr. Kelly's friends. Yes. Is it fair to say that R. Kelly, the celebrity, is not carrying his own luggage in bags when he gets to his destinations? Sometimes, but not all the time. Right. Okay. He's got people to do that most of the time. Yes. Okay. Milton was not only the one who had the job of carrying Kelly's bags, right? Correct. Can you name some of the other people who had this job? Just other employees that were working for him. Other employees like Tom Arnold. Yes. George Kelly, who I think his nickname is Junebug. Yes. Why are you telling her? Why is she at you not ask her to name the people? Like, this dude is like testifying for her. Why is it like, well, can you tell me who are some of these employees? He's naming the people, and she just whatever. Who I think his nickname is Junebug. Correct. Okay. And even more than that. And even more than that. Yes. Okay. And you never see any of these other employees, basically chauffeurs, go through R. Kelly's or his celebrity guest bags, right? No. Okay. May I confer you, Anna? Your Honor? Yes. Thank you. No further questions. Ms. Bonjean, you may question the witness. Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Jane. Good morning. My name is Jennifer, and I represent Mr. Kelly. Excuse me? If I understand your testimony correctly, you had a 12-year relationship with Robert. Is that right? Yes. And I think you testified yesterday that this relationship commenced sexual relationship when you were around 14 or around the time in 1998-ish. Is that right? Correct. And then ultimately, you left the relationship, I think in 2010. Does that sound about right? Sounds about right. Okay. And that means you were about 26 years old, if my math is correct, give or take. Yes. And you said that you moved into an apartment, I think in University Park. Is that correct? Correct. And that he helped you get set up there with rent, paying for the rent and getting you an apartment there. Is that correct? Correct. And I think you also said that he made sure that you had transportation. I think you mentioned a Denali or something like that. Yes. And that was like a Denali. That wasn't brand new. That was something that was used, right? Correct. Okay. And you testified in 2002 before the grand jury in Cook County when you were 17 years old, right? Yes. And you understand that at 17 years old in the state of Illinois, you're considered an adult? Correct. All right. And you were still in a relationship with Robert at that time, correct? Yes. And by that point, the relationship was a legal relationship because you were legal age. You were of legal age in terms of consenting, right? Objection, Your Honor, from Ms. Apperton. Excuse me. Objection, Your Honor. Calls for a legal conclusion that the witness may not be aware of. Well, overruled. Go ahead, Ms. Bonjean. You were aware that at 17, you were actually permitted to have a relationship with him in the eyes of the law in Illinois, right? I wasn't aware of that. Okay. I thought it was 18. Okay. And at the time, in 2008, when Robert was prosecuted for the charges related to child pornography, you also were still in a relationship with him. Is that right? Yes. And in fact, at that time, you were about 24 years old, right? Correct. And you were living with him, right? Yes. And his wife was living there too, right? Yes. And you claim that Robert, after this time, became abusive and controlling. Is that correct? Yes. Okay. But before that, the relationship wasn't abusive or controlling. It was after 2008, the prosecution and the subsequent acquittal, right? It got worse during that time. All right. And this behavior that you're talking about, that increased abuse that you're talking about, this didn't have anything to do with his 2008 acquittal, I assume, right? No. The case was over and done at that point, correct? Right? And you put it behind you at that point, correct? Yes. Robert put it behind him at that point, right? Yes. Objection, Your Honor. Speculation as to what Robert Kelly knew. Well, you were living with him, weren't you? Yes. You talked to him pretty regularly, given the fact that you lived with him and I guess his wife, right? Correct. In fact, you had a sexual relationship with him and his wife, right? That's what he wanted. You did that. Though, as an adult, right? Correct. And you understood that after 2008 acquittal from your conversation with Robert, that this is all in the past, right? Correct. Now, when you did move out, strike that. Let me ask you one more. Let me ask you one other thing. You testified that you weren't allowed to work when you were living with Robert. But that's not true, right? No, I was not allowed to work. Didn't you? Weren't you going to school at Moraine Community College, going to classes there? Correct. But I was also not able to choose what I wanted to go to school for. Okay. And you were also working at the daycare center. Isn't that right? After the trial, yes, that is correct. Even before, you were working at the daycare center and going to classes, correct? No. All right. Well, do you remember being interviewed by the U.S. attorneys back, let's see, on May 3rd of 2019? I don't remember dates, but if you can refresh my memory, I'm not saying that it didn't happen. And at that point, you admitted that you were taking childhood courses at Moraine Valley College for approximately 1.5 to 2 years, right? Yes. So he didn't prevent you from taking classes at a community college, right? Well, during the trial, I was not able to go to school for what I wanted to study, is all I'm saying. Okay. We're talking about after the acquittal. Okay? That's the time frame I like to focus on. Yes. After that, I was able to, that is correct. Right. And he paid for that, right? Yes. Now, after you moved out and you maintained a very tight relationship with Robbie, didn't you? Yes. Despite how terribly abusive it was, according to you, you remained close to him, correct? He wasn't like that all the time. Uh-huh. Oh, in fact, your whole family was very close to him. Yes. Even after you broke up because of this alleged abusive relationship, right? Yes. Indeed, your dad worked pretty consistently with Robert between 1998 and 2011. Isn't that correct? Yes. He worked with Robert before the sex tape scandal came and after it was all over. Am I correct? Yes. And even after you left Robert, he worked with your dad, right? Yes. In fact, your father was a guitarist. And as I understand it, is that correct? Yes. And as I understand it, a very talented guitarist. You agree with that, wouldn't you? I assume. Correct. He worked with people other than R. Kelly. Am I correct? Yes. And in fact, that album that you identified on the wall of Robert's studio that had all those platinum, and I think it was called R or Reality. Is that what it's called? I'm not exactly sure. Okay. Well, you identified it. Now, should we put the picture up? Or do you know which one I'm talking about? I know which one you are referencing. Yes. And your dad worked on that album, didn't he? Yeah. In fact, that's the album for which R. Kelly received a Grammy, right? Yes. That's the album that has the song I Believe I Can Fly, right? Yes. I believe I can fly. I believe I can touch the sky. I think about it every night and day. Wake up, girl. Get it focused. And that is the album your father worked on in 1997, 98, before there was a sex tape scandal, correct? Yes. Daddy! Daddy! Your father worked on a #1 album with Mr. Kelly, correct? Yes. And he worked with other artists, right? Correct. Correct. And this was all before the sex tape that became public in 2002 was released. Am I right? Yes. Get her, Jennifer! Get her, Jennifer! Sit your ass down, lady. And it was your aunt who released that tape. I'm sorry. It was your aunt that released that tape to Jim Deroganis, right? To my understanding, yes. If you don't know, her aunt is Sparkle, y'all. It was your aunt that released that tape. To my understanding, yes. Sparkle? Correct. Is her real name Stephanie Edwards? Yes. Now, your father worked on the Grammy-nominated album Love Letter in 2011, right? Yes. Jennifer, would you be easy on her? Shut the... Now, your father worked on the Grammy-nominated album Love Letter 2011, right? Yes. And that was after you and Mr. Kelly were completely over romantically, right? Yes. And after you and Robert broke up, you cared about him. And he cared about you. Right? Yes. Even after you broke up, you sometimes came back together. And you had intimate times together. Is that fair, Jane? Yes. Even after you broke up, you sometimes came to big game, getting back together, and you had intimate times together. Is that fair? Yes. And he helped you out from time to time with finances and things you needed, right? Isn't that correct? Correct. For instance, you testified in 2014. In 2015, Robert helped you with your rent payments, right? Yes. I think it looked like your rent was what? 1,100? Yeah, about 1,100. Does that sound right? During that time period? Yes. And Robert was And Robert wasn't writing checks to you. He would delegate that to someone else, right? Yes, correct. Objection, Your Honor. That's speculation as to what Mr. Kelly was doing. Well, I can clarify. What was he doing? I don't see how that's speculating. Overruled. Thank you, Your Honor. You would receive checks, not directly from Robert, but from somebody that worked for Robert, right? Yes. And that sometimes you would receive wire transfers from somebody that would initiate those wires, right? Yes. And having spent 12 years plus a whole friendship afterwards with Robert, you're aware that he wasn't the person that would manage his finances personally, right? Correct. He had managers who did that, correct? Yes. He wasn't someone that intimately involved in the business side of things. He was an artist, right? Yes. He also struggled with things like math and reading and writing and all those things, right? Yes. So he delegated those activities to people like Mr. David, correct? Yes. And then there were other managers as well. Were you familiar with some of Robert's other managers? Not that I could think of. Okay. And after you broke up, you would continue to go to his concerts, right? Yes. Your family would go to his concerts too, right? Yes. Your brother, I understand, is also a musician. Is that correct? Correct. And he would attend events that Robert would invite you to. Correct? Yes. And after you, in 2008, after he was acquitted, this relationship that you had with Robert, it wasn't centered at all around the scandal and the 2008 acquittal, was it? No. In fact, that was a subject matter that you and Mr. Kelly did not want to talk about, correct? No. You did? No. Excuse me. Now I want to show you, well, you know what? Strike that. I'm sorry. In September of 2008, this would have been, thank you. Let me back up a second. You're familiar with the docuseries Surviving R. Kelly, right? Correct. And you're aware that it was premiered in like January of 2019, right? Yes. Because your life kind of changed when that came out, right? Yes. But before that, late 2018, you were communicating regularly with Robert via text and sometimes on the phone, right? Yes. I'm going to mark this as, hold on one second. Okay, I'm going to have you look at the screen, okay? And because I don't want to say something publicly, we're going to mark this as defendants 100 for identification purposes. Okay? And can you pull out the bottom there? Excuse me, there's the judge. Ms. Judge, excuse me, if I may, just for clarification, if we could label your exhibits Defendant Kelly so we can separate them, sure. That would be appreciated. Yeah, sure. Thank you. Ms. Bongine continues. Do you see the screen? Yes. If you can look at the bottom there, not the blue part, but right below it, I don't want to put, there's nothing on my screen. I don't want to put it publicly on record. But do you recognize your phone number there at the bottom? Or your old phone number there at the bottom? Yes. Okay. And do you recognize Mr. Kelly's phone number right above it? The one that begins with the 6. I don't remember the number, but okay. It looks familiar. Okay, so let's go. I'm going to have you scroll through that. Go to the next page and take a look. And go ahead and read it to yourself. And then it's actually not legible. Okay, how about that? Okay. Read it to yourself, and then can you tell me if you recognize it? Go to the next page, keep going. Do you remember these exchanges? Yes. And they were exchanges with Mr. Kelly, correct? Yes. Okay. And do they appear to be your communications with Mr. Kelly during this time period, right before the release of Surviving R. Kelly? Yes. Judge, I would like to offer them into evidence, not for the truth of the matter asserted, but for the respect of the state of mind. Any objections? None? Okay, they admit it. You may publish it. Thank you, Your Honor. The government objects to publishing. It was a witness telephone number on it, and it is not redacted. Oh, okay. We'll redact it. I understand it's not a working number, is it? No, it's not a working number, but we'll still redact it. It can still be used to identify even though it's not working, Your Honor. That's fine. We'll redact it. Okay, redacted. Other than that, you may publish. It's not, that's not the one. That's not what. While we're redacting, Your Honor, I'll keep asking some questions, okay? Okay. Let's go to the next page. It has been redacted. So, should I publish it? I will move to publish. I think the judge said okay. No, it's not redacted yet. Yes, it can be published. It's on the next multiple pages though. I understand I'm going to do it as we go. So we'll go to the next page. It is redacted. What are you referencing? Why don't you proceed with the rest of them while they're being redacted, and then you can show them all. That's not her phone number that you're pointing to. That's not her number. Then it's not relevant. I have to go to the next page. So are we publishing this page that is not her number? Do you see the bottom part? It had their numbers. We just redacted her number. It has Mr. Kelly's number, and then it has her number. We redacted it. So the messages that she does not identify as being hers shouldn't be appearing on the screen. That's not true. I'm going to the next page. Wait. Is there an objection on the floor? If so, state the basis for the objection. The objection is relevance. The defense counsel has just indicated that there's numbers on here, telephone numbers that are neither James or Mr. Kelly. So those messages should not be there. We understand that there's numbers that are the messages between them The numbers are redacted. Okay. I was under the impression that she identified these messages and that there's a phone number or there has long not been used. So I don't see what the problem is. And Jennifer says, and we just redacted them. They're just looking at a portion of the document that the half, we had to look at the bottom or half of the page. So we've now moved on to the next page. Okay? Jane, you ready? Okay. Jennifer's continuing. These are messages to Mr. Kelly, right? Correct. And the date on that is September 26, 2018, correct? Yes. And you send him a message saying, I'm next to you, laugh out loud. And then you said, let's share a toast for my 34th glow day, right? Correct. What is a glow day? It was my birthday. So you wanted to celebrate your birthday with him September of 2018, right? We were in the same party. Okay. Well, you send him a link to where you were going to be hosting your birthday, right? That sounds right. Okay. Then you had to change the location of your birthday, right? I don't remember that, but that could be true. You said, also tonight I had to change the location. Joy District at 8 o'clock, right? Yes. And did you, in fact, have a birthday celebration there at 8 o'clock? Yes. Did he attend? I don't think so. No. He didn't respond to your message. Actually, right? At least these messages, correct? That could be true. That's not what I see on the screen. So, yeah. All right. Are we able to go to the next page? And honestly, Judge, this isn't even her number. She changed her number since. So I should just, I'm just going to keep going. Your Honor, the government still objects as it can be used to identify her, which we noted earlier. Yes, keep going. I don't see any problem if the number isn't in, has no connection with her anymore, even if it exists. So go ahead. Okay. Go to the next one, Ashley, please. Can I do it non-redacted? Yes. Go to the next page. Then you sent him a text saying, nope. No, excuse me. Then you sent him a text saying, hope to see you. And then he didn't respond. And on October 15, 2018, you said, my mom lost her mother. Check on her when you get a moment, please. Right? Yes. Because Mr. Kelly was close to your mother, right? Yes. Even at this point, isn't it fair? That's correct, right? Yes. And he responded a little bit later and he said, wow, I just got this. Sorry to hear that. Send me her number, please. Which you did, right? Yes. And he said, I'm okay. How are you doing? And you said, my heart is heavy, but it will get better with time, right? Correct. Next page. Then you asked him, what have you been up to? And he said, I understand you're talking to the mirror right now, but you're right. It will all get better if you really believe that like I do. And you responded, I can only imagine. I think about you and I pray for you often. And he responded, and it's working. I appreciate it. And you said, I feel it. So I know you do. And then you said, let me know when we can catch up. Go to the next page. And you said, okay. And he said, okay, baby. Just stay on my radar. It's all good. And you said, will do. And then you reached out to him on December 30th of 2018. Where you at? What does that WYA? What does that mean? Where you at? And he didn't respond, right? No. And then you said, hey, go to the next page. Happy New Year, Shorty. Shorty is one of your nicknames, right? Yes. And you said, hey, Happy New Year. Peace, loving, and blessings. You go into Oceans? What is Oceans? It's a strip club. And he said, you said a strip club? Yes. And what was being celebrated there, if you remember? I don't remember, but I'm sure he was like hosting or something like that. He was hosting? I said I believe he was hosting or something like that. Okay. Or I don't know if it was my birthday. I don't know exactly. Well, except that he responded, no, we at the studio. You all can pull up if you want, right? Right. So he wasn't hosting anything at no strip club, right? Apparently not. No. Okay. But you just assume he was because it's a strip club. No. It was obviously something that may have happened in the media or on social media that would have made me think that he was going to be there for some reason, because that's not a random question I would ask him. Except you have friends in common. You might think that he might be going to this because you have friends in common who were going, right? No? Okay. So you just assume he was going to Oceans, even though he says, no, we all going to the studio. You can pull up if you want, right? Correct. And you said, cool, thanks. I'll text you. And then the next page, you said, hey. And then he actually responded, hey, you. And you said again, this is January 3rd of 2019. That was around the time, actually, I think it's the exact date the docuseries premiered. Does that sound right? Yes. Oh, although I guess the fallout from it wasn't entirely aware although I guess the fallout from it wasn't entirely aware until a little bit later, correct? I don't know what you mean by that. Can you rephrase that question? Did you watch it on January 3rd, 2019? No? All right. So you said, what's up with you? You feel like stopping by Pressure Point? Pressure Point's a studio. Correct. And then you said, or can me, Jay Blaze, and her girl, April, stop by your studio? Hey, so you've asked him multiple times to hang out, right? Or to come by the studio? Yes. And then he says, wait, how is this girl doing all this communication with this dude? But he did all this abuse to her. She wanted to get away from him and all this shit. And you still fucking with him up to 2 years ago. Hanging out, texting, communicating. You like, y'all be killing me with this victim stuff. You 30-something years old still dealing with this man. Yo, this is crazy. You're a grown-ass woman. I understand when you was young, he may have, it might have been child molestation or whatever, but you stayed with this man throughout your whole life. Like, you're not scared of this man. He ain't abused you. If you still hanging out, calling him, reaching out to him, hanging out with him, hanging out with your girlfriends with him, how are you scared of him? You're not scared of him. Yo, y'all killing me with this victim shit, yo. You ain't no victim. If you still hanging and chilling and like, or are you just glutton for punishment? Like, what is it? And then you said, so you asked him multiple times to hang out, right? Or come by the studio. Yes. And then he says, sorry, I just found this damn phone in the couch in the studio. Laugh out loud, but it's all good. Let me know the next time y'all going out. And depending on the stupid-ish, laugh out loud, I'll come with y'all. Right? Correct. And if you go to the next page and you said, who you telling? Pressure Point, though, is a studio. I wasn't asking you to go out, laugh out loud, but that would be nice also. And he said, what be going on there? And you responded, I work there in the evening. It's Jay's husband's spot now. They had April, the mother of, I won't say the names, someone's child. And she's writing. Just thought it would be a nice vibe for you to pull up. Come today. Is really private. You wanted him to come hang out, right? Yes. That was just in January of 2019, right? Yes. And then you hit him again on January 3rd. What are you doing tonight? Do you see that on the top one? Yes. And he says studio session, but I'll be here drinking and chilling. And you say, okay, I'm going to come through. Come through means I'm going to stop by, right? Yeah, correct. And he said, hit me around 8:30 or 9. And then you text him later and said, are you there? You said, need you to respond right away, right? Correct. Hey, are you there? We're pulling up now. And then he didn't respond, right? Correct. And then later on, he said, what happened? And you said, I came. You never responded. And I kept calling your phone while I was outside. Do you remember that? Not exactly, but it sounds right. And then he said, oh my God, are you serious? Why not do everybody? Why not do everybody else does? Just come in. Why not do what everybody else does? Just come in. Laugh out loud. It is a party. I can't hear my phone. People grabbing on me, trying to take pictures. Your Honor, we're going to object to these. Counsel showed the witness a first few pages. The witness has not looked at any of these pages and identified that these are conversations that she actually recalls. So she has to do that first in order to lay the foundation for these to be admitted and published. I will ask her then, Judge. All right. You recognize, Your Honor, it's still published to the jury. Well, if it's published to the jury, it's there. But you can ask her if these are hers, I guess. Thank you, Your Honor. You recognize those as your text messages with Robert, right? Yes. Okay. 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 Do you want to scroll through the rest so you can? Do you want to scroll through the rest so she can recognize to the very end and then? I can't do it with the redactions. Okay. Do you have any reason to believe that these aren't your text messages with him, right? No. Okay, let's keep going. And you said, I definitely wasn't trying to walk up to the door and have problems with everything going on. I get that. But wait, you taking pictures now? And then you said, just let me know when you're free. And then he says, no, I say they were trying to take pictures, but depending on who it is, I do take pictures here and there. Why you say that? And you responded, I'm just laughing because I know you don't usually do that. So it was cool. And he responded, well, here's something even funnier. I didn't take one picture with nobody last night. There were a lot of moonwolfers in there. And you said, please call me and explain what a moonwolfer is. Laugh out loud. Okay, that was on January 5th, 2019. Do you see that? This isn't really legible up here. So if you want to zoom in again, sure. That would be helpful. Can you zoom in for the first half of that, Ash? Okay, do you see that? Yes. Okay. And then you see this message, which is, thank you guys for everything. I'm tired now. That was January 6, 2019, right? Yes. And that was after Surviving R. Kelly series came out, and he was pretty upset, right? Yes. And then you responded with, wait, what? Are you okay? I'm super worried about you, right? Yes. And you were worried about him, right? And you were worried about him, right? Yes. And you were, are you able to go to the next page? Keep going. And then you hit him with a lot of messages here where you said, where are you? Don't do this. Respond to me. And you said, I long you don't let the devil win. But then you corrected yourself, which was, I love you. Don't let the devil win. Right? Correct. And then you were like, Rob, exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point. And then the last page of this particular exchange or series of exchange is, and you said, trust me, I know firsthand how you feel. You have my prayers. You need to come to the studio. It is super safe and private. I have something you should come remix. And he responded, sorry? Okay, major breakdown, but now I know I'm on a major buildup. And you said, yeah, I had one too. Do you remember that? Yes. Okay. And that kind of relates to the series coming out, which upset you too, right? Correct. Because you started getting people hitting you up and harassing you, right? Yeah. Lisa Van Allen messaging you, right? Correct. You didn't want to be talking to her, did you? I didn't have no reason to. Now, give me a second. And because all the attention you started getting from surviving R. Kelly, you actually changed your phone number, didn't you? Yes. And in your conversation with Robin, he wasn't trying to influence you to do anything. You guys were just commiserating that this was coming back up, right? Right. Okay. Now, I would like to look at, this is just 3 more pages of an exchange between, well, you take a look at it and put it just for her. They have to do it just for her. Okay. All right. Now, regard the first 3 blue bubbles. Okay. And look at it where it says 278. Do you see that? Do you recognize your phone number there? The phone number you changed to? Honestly, I don't. Highlight the number. I'm sorry. No, I can't see it, but I don't remember that as being my number. That's not the one that stands out. Okay. I'm not saying it wasn't. I just don't recognize it. Okay. Okay. And you do see the message there that says, this is, and you don't have to, don't say it loud, the name, but it is, this is Jane, my new number, right? Yes. Do you remember sending that message to Mr. Kelly on January 7th, 2019? Yes. All right. Go to the next page. If you could pull out Ashley so she can see it a little more. Blow it up. Do you see your messages to him? Yes. Do you recognize these messages? Yes. Do these messages appear fairly and accurately reflect your text messages to Mr. Kelly during this period of time? Yes. Okay. Go to the last page. So all of them. So we have all of them. And if you could pull it out so she can see it, stretch it out, Ashley. And for this page, does your answer stand that you remember these text messages? Yes. Okay. That's not your number anymore, is it, right? Correct. Okay, let's go back to the first page, Ashley. Make sure that you redact any reference to her real name there. Okay? Judge, this is a 3-page document. I'll move to admit it as Defendant Kelly 101. Any objections? It's submitted. No, Your Honor. You may publish. Okay. You hit him up on January 7, 2019. You said, "This is Jane, my new number," right? Correct. Go to the next page, Ashley. And then you sent this message to him. The first one is, "What are you doing? What are you doing now?" Right? Yes. Happy Glow Day. Correct? Correct. Glow Day is birthday, right? Uh-huh. And it was his birthday. Yes. You asked him, "What are you doing tonight?" This was on January 11th, right? I think on January 9th. Right. But then you said, "What are you doing tonight?" on January 11th, correct? I don't see that on my screen. I don't know. Yeah. Okay. And then on January 11th, you said, "Trying to reach. We need to talk. Very important." Correct? Yes. He's not responding. Is that fair? Yes. And then you said, "How is it that I'm testing you at such a critical time and you're not getting back to me?" Right? Yes. And this is related to Surviving R. Kelly series, isn't it? Yes. And then you said, "It's Jane. Call me," on January 18th, right? Yes. And then you keep going on. And he said, "Damn, I didn't recognize this number." And you said, "I've been calling and texting you." And he said, "I'm just waking up. I'm not used to this new number, but I'm going to lock it in." And then on February 14th, Valentine's Day of 2019, you said, "I need to speak to you ASAP," right? Correct. And then you also said, "You need to call me right away or I'm making decisions on my own," right? Yes. And he didn't call you, did he? I believe we did have a phone conversation after that, if I can remember correctly. Okay. You didn't tell that to the U.S. attorney that when you met with him, did you? I'm not sure if they asked me that or not. You told the U.S. attorney that you hadn't had communication with him at this point, right? Right. Actually, and that you actually made false statements to the U.S. attorneys when you said that you were on a friendly, not so friendly basis, but you hadn't been in contact with him, right? I told them we were in contact. Let's see. I want to draw your attention. Do you remember speaking to the U.S. attorney on April 11, 2019? I'm not sure of the date, but I know that I did speak with them, yes. And do you remember telling the U.S. attorney on that date that your relationship with R. Kelly was friendly, but not friendly? That you contacted Kelly because it was his birthday and contacted him after the docuseries aired? And you described him as not sounding well and seemed stressed? That you contacted Kelly again after information circulated on the news, but was not successful? You told him you weren't successful in contacting him. So again, the timeline and everything that you're asking me, I might not be completely accurate about it in that sense, but we did communicate about the documentary. So that's why I answered it that way. Okay. But you said that you believe that you had conversations after you told him, I'm going to do what I'm going to do if you don't get in contact with me, right? I just meant in reference to the documentary. I can't say that it was that particular conversation after the text messages. All right. On February 14th, when you were hitting him up to try to get in contact with him, that's because the Cook County State's Attorney Office was trying to reach you, right? Yes. And you didn't want to talk to the Cook County State's Attorney's Office, correct? Correct. And that's because you had heard that Michael Avenatti. Do you know who Michael Avenatti is? I don't. Okay. You had heard that there was a tape that had been given to the Cook County State's Attorney's Office, right? Yes. And that first person that called you was Robert, right? Yes, because we were a team, correct? In 2019, you were a team? Well, I'm saying in a reference to handling this situation, whether we were on good terms or bad terms, I felt comfortable enough to reach out to him because I was afraid. I didn't know how to handle myself in this situation. So yes, I did. But he didn't contact you, right? No. You knew that Kim Fox had set up a hotline for anyone who had information about R. Kelly, right? No, I didn't know that. But on February 14th, the Cook County State's Attorney's Office came and you refused to speak to them, right? Yes. And just like in 2002, you didn't want to have anything to do with this, right? Correct. And you were getting lots of attention, right? Yes. And you were also getting offers and opportunities to, essentially appear in docuseries and other types of media broadcasts. Would you agree? Yes. And you went to Robert and you told him that if he paid you, you wouldn't cooperate with them, right? Yes. No, pardon me. That's not correct. You told him you were going to make a decision by yourself if he didn't get back to you, whether he was going to pay you. The decision that I was going to make would have been to cooperate with the authorities because I no longer wanted to carry his lies. Right. But you had an opportunity after opportunity to not carry his lies. And when there's an investigation going on, the first person you call is Robert, right? That's what I was used to. You're right. Yes. Right. I mean, and you didn't talk to the Cook County's Attorney's Office when they came knocking on your door, right? No. You called Robert because you wanted to work out a situation where he would pay you not to cooperate. That's not correct. Uh-huh. And then he was arrested by law enforcement on February 22nd, 2019. Do you remember that? Yes. Okay. You weren't talking to him at this point, right? Correct. And he made bail, right? Yes. And he didn't try to talk to you either, correct? No. He made no efforts to speak to you. Can we? Right? Right. You decided to cooperate at that point because Not because you wanted to get something off your chest of all of a sudden, but because there were benefits involved in it, correct? No. I mean, you have a deal right now after this trial where you're going to go tell your story. Your brother was posting about that, right? No, that's not correct. Okay. You don't have any deals right now that is going to materialize after you testify here in court, any that will enrich you. No. Objection, Your Honor. There's no foundation for any of these questions. Okay. Well, actually, we'll come back to it. Your Honor, if there's a foundation as the officer of the court, you tell me there's a good faith basis, you may do it. Otherwise, I'll sustain the objection. There is. Judge, if you give me 1 second. Did you have your brother post on Instagram about how you were so brave and that you were going to be a spokesperson for Project Refine with the collaboration with Grey Goose Vodka? Yes. That's what I was talking about. Any other deals like that? So that's not a deal. That's for my nonprofit organization that I just started. It's a mentoring program. That's not for my profit. That's for my passion for what I'm doing in my personal life. It has nothing to do with a deal. Grey Goose didn't give me any deals, or I don't have anything to look forward with them after what took place the other day. Okay. But there's a collaboration with Grey Goose Vodka, right? There was, yes. And any other types of, I won't use the words deal. Any other type of opportunities you have after your testimony here today? No. Now, even though Robert had no communication with you after you hit him up and said, wait a minute, let me stop for a second. Girl, you just started this nonprofit all these years. Now this trial's going on. You just started a nonprofit, and Grey Goose is giving you a deal. And I've been in this mother effort industry for almost 30 years. I'm doing damn near 2 million views a month on YouTube, and Grey Goose hasn't contacted me to do a deal. And you get a deal with Grey Goose. And as big as my name is, you telling me I can't get a deal with Grey Goose, but you can get a Grey Goose with a nonprofit that you just started yesterday. Girl, bye. If you think Grey Goose ain't giving you a deal because you attached to this R. Kelly stuff, if you think we that stupid, girl, you must be crazy. Grey Goose, y'all giving deals to anybody? Call me, Grey Goose. Fuck out of here, yo. What? How's this girl got a Grey Goose deal? Or any one of y'all should have a Grey Goose deal. If she got one, any of y'all that slept with a celebrity, y'all should have a Grey Goose deal. This is ridiculous. Now, even though Robert had no communication with you after you hit him up and said you were going to make your own choice or something of that nature, you went and spoke with U.S. attorneys with a person by the name of Fred Crawford, right? Yes. And you call him your god brother, right? Yes. What's a god brother to you? Because R. Kelly's your godfather. Yo, oh, Jennifer's cutting her up. Yo, she went to, this go to show you, she went to a family member that worked for the U.S. attorneys to go and tell on R. Kelly, dog, because the nigga wasn't going to give her no money for her to chill. Yo, this is so ill. Now, even though Robert, you had no communication with Robert, even though Robert had no communications with you after you hit him up and said you were going to make your own choice or something of that nature, you went and spoke with U.S. attorneys with a person by the name of Fred Crawford, right? Yes. And you call him your god brother, right? Yes. What is a god brother to you? It's just a terminology that I use for how close he and I are. He's helped me out, how he's gave me work. Like, he's just a really close friend to my family. So I consider him not a real brother, but a god brother. Okay. Is he older than you? About a year and a half, yeah. Okay. And on April 11th of 2019, you were interviewed by Assistant U.S. State's Attorney by the name of Angel Crow. Correct? Correct. And you became pretty close with her. Correct? I wouldn't say close. You were, you text back and forth with her from time to time, right? Yes. All right. And during that first interview, you refused to answer any questions about your interaction with R. Kelly, right? Yes. You even told the assistant state's attorney during that interview that you didn't know whether Kelly, you weren't sure whether Kelly had relationships with young girls, right? I don't remember the conversation you're speaking of, actually. If you had said that, according to you, that would be a lie, right? Correct. And you had told that lie to U.S. attorneys on April 11th, 2019, not because Robert told you to tell that lie, because you decided to tell that lie, right? Objection, Your Honor. That's a mistake, her testimony. She says she doesn't recall what she said on that day. All right, clarify. Well, I can prove it. I can prove it up. I can pull it up. Clarify her answer then. Sure. Shall I? Maybe let me refresh your recollection first. Perhaps that will help. Okay. The April 11th, do you have it? And just show it to her. Okay. Do you see what appears to be the Department of Homeland Security report in front of you? Yes. Okay. Can you zoom in a little bit? Yeah, sure. I'll put out that portion. And about the 5th paragraph down, first pull out that for her. Okay. Can you see it closer now? Yes. Okay. And at that point, you said you weren't comfortable answering any questions. Can you repeat that? Do you remember telling the U.S. attorney that you were not comfortable answering any questions about interactions with Mr. Kelly, your sexual interactions with Mr. Kelly? Yes. And then you on the next page, about halfway down there, it says, I'm not going to use your initials. I'm just going to say Jane. And go ahead. Do you see where it's highlighted there, that first sentence? Yes. Does that refresh your recollection about whether you told the U.S. attorneys you're not sure whether R. Kelly had relations with other young girls? Yes. Okay. And today you're saying you do know that he had a relationship with other young girls, right? Yes. So when you told the U.S. attorneys that on April 11th, 2019, that wasn't true? That was a false statement, right? Yes. Okay. So even on April 11, 2019, you were making false statements to the U.S. Attorney's Office, right? I didn't want to get other people involved, so yes, I did do that. The girls that I did know, I did say that. Right. You told false statements to the U.S. Attorney's Office, which in fact is a federal crime, right? Objection, Your Honor. As to what the witness may know in terms of legal consultations about official charges, overruled. She can give a general answer. And Mr. Kelly didn't tell you that. Wait, and Mr. Kelly didn't tell you to tell that lie. You told that lie, right? Yes. You can take that down. You had your own reasons for not wanting to be truthful with the authorities, right? At that time, yes. Not the other times. In fact, that was the first interview that you gave about anything related to Mr. Kelly since you spoke to, I guess, the police back in 2000, right? I don't remember exactly, but okay. And during this interview, the U.S. attorneys made it clear to you that and during this interview, the U.S. attorneys made it clear to you it kind of wasn't your choice, that if they subpoenaed you to testify before a federal grand jury, you were going to have to show up on a subpoena, right? Correct. All right. And then even in the interview you had, oh, by the way, during that interview, by the way, during that interview, you refused to look at any video, right? Yes. In fact, until August 9th, like last week, you've never seen the video, right? Correct. So you have no idea what was shown at that criminal trial in 2008, right? No, only through those still images. You looked at some still images, and that's where you denied that it was you, right? Yes. Okay. Now, April 13th of 2019, you again met with the U.S. attorneys and you still did not want to talk. You were uncooperative, right? Can you repeat that for me? On April 13th of 2019, at the second interview, you still were unwilling to speak to the U.S. attorneys, correct? Yes. And speak with them about Mr. Kelly and yourself and all of that. That's what I'm talking about, right? Yes. And you again, and again, that had nothing to do with Mr. Kelly. That was all your decision, right? Yes. And on that day, you again refused to look at any videos of yourself discussing your relationship with Mr. Kelly, right? Right. And you weren't communicating with Robert at this time, right? And isn't it true that the U.S. Attorney's Office told you that you would be entitled to restitution if you help get Mr. Kelly convicted, right? Yes. And restitution is money, right? Yes. And you are seeking restitution or will seek restitution if he is convicted, right? I'm still undecided about that. No, that's not correct. You haven't decided. whether you're going to seek restitution? No. But you know you have the right to seek restitution, correct? That is correct. And the U.S. Attorney told you that you had the right to seek restitution even before you ended up giving and cooperating with them, right? That's incorrect. Objection, Your Honor. We need a sidebar of this. They gonna have a sidebar. Okay. Now, April 18th of 2019 is when you decided that you would cooperate with the investigation. Am I correct? Yes. Okay. So you testified yesterday that you were just so tired of keeping the secret and you needed to get it off your chest. But you took some time making that decision, didn't you? Yes. You told the government that you would not cooperate unless they could give you immunity. Am I right? I didn't tell them that, no. You asked for immunity. You asked for immunity, Dale, through counsel, right? Correct. And you asked for immunity for your parents too. Yes. Now, if your parents didn't know anything and they were innocent in all of this, why did you ask for immunity for them? Because with them not being truthful the first time, as far as what took place in 2008, I just wanted to make sure that they were protected with telling the truth and moving forward. And I want to go back. And they agreed to give you immunity and protect you and your parents as well, right? One second, y'all. And I want to go back. And they agreed to give you immunity and protect your parents as well, right? Correct. And I know your father has since passed. I'm sorry. But at the time that you were speaking with the government in 2019, he was living, right? Yes. You were introduced to Robert by your aunt Stephanie Edwards, who goes by the name Sparkle, right? Correct. And you said that even though she was like 10 years older than you, you thought of her as a friend, right? Yes. And actually, your relationship with her was pretty inappropriate, wasn't it? Yes. You were a young girl, and she told you about her relationship with Robert, right? Yes. And she even shared with you her sexual relationships with Robert, right? Yes. And she brought you to Robert's studio, correct? Yes. And Robert's studio was a pretty bustling place, active place, lots of artists coming in and out, right? Yes. Musicians, right? Yes. Managers, runners. It was a pretty vibrant place for someone who was interested in music, correct? Yes. And you enjoyed going there because you came from a musical family and you yourself was a musician, right? Yes. And you enjoy seeing your aunt perform. Or I guess perform is the wrong word. But like but like being in the studio making music, right? Yes, correct. And if you you testified that it was Sparkle who instructed you to develop this connection with Robert, right? Yes. And you testified, I think yesterday, that she told you to sit on his lap, rub his head, and ask him to be your godfather. Correct? Correct. And is godfather like code for something? Because I'm confused. Like, what does it mean to ask someone to be your godfather? Well, again, if you look up to somebody that's within your race, if you look up to somebody and you say that term like more casually, that's just like the way I feel like she introduced me to be more like closer to him. I see. And to be clear, it wasn't Robert that asked you to be his goddaughter. It was you that asked him to be your godfather because Sparkle had said to you, you should do this, right? Yes. And then looking back, you said that you think Sparkle was pushing Kelly on you? Isn't that right? Yes. In fact, you believe that Sparkle used you as bait with Kelly. That is something you opinioned, right? Yes. And of course, Sparkle has said that you are not being truthful about this, right? Objection, Your Honor. It calls for hearsay about what Sparkle said. I'm not. It's not offered for the truth. Yes, not for the truth. Overruled. Did you see Sparkle's tweet last night? No. Okay. She said that you were lying because the government's forcing you to testify. Objection, Your Honor. Relevance as to what's happening right now. This is about the trial and about the evidence that has already been introduced and will be. It goes to interest and bias. On social media last night? Wait. Hold on. Look, Jennifer, if she made the statement to the public, if she made it to an investigator, it would be a non-issue. She made the statement. Your Honor, we're talking about an out-of-court statement that's being offered. Number one, the witness has said she is not familiar with the statement. Okay, this would be for truth, so the objection is granted. The motion, yeah. Jennifer Bonjean, that's fine, Judge. I'll move on. You testified yesterday that after this godfather relationship came to be, that things started turning romantic, sexual between you and Mr. Kelly, right? Can you repeat the question? Yeah. That after he agreed to be your godfather, that was the turning point from the relationship. It became inappropriate at that point, right? Yes. And you testified that your parents were okay with this because he was your godfather, right? Correct. But he wasn't your godfather. Your parents knew that, right? Well, they accepted him as my godfather when he agreed to be that. Okay. Just because you asked and he accepted, that in and of itself had such meaning that your parents were okay with you spending hours at the studio and all of these things that you testified about. I can't answer that for them. Okay, that's fine. I think we'll wait. We'll keep that for another witness. Now, you have previously stated that Sparkle knew about your relationship, right? She knew what she encouraged me to do. Yes. And she was angry with Kelly about some fallout over a record deal, right? Yes. And you have testified that your parents didn't know about this relationship with Kelly until this interaction at the hotel where there were all these tears and everyone was upset and Mr. Kelly begged for forgiveness and he had all this remorse. Do you remember that testimony? Yes. Okay. But your parents were actually the subject of a DCFS investigation in April of 2000, right? Yes. And have you determined whether or not it was Sparkle who initiated that DCFS investigation? I'm not sure who it was. Okay. So when you say they didn't know, you're saying they didn't believe, right? Yes. Objection, Your Honor, as to what if she knows what was in her parents' mind at the time. She testified yesterday at a length of multiple times that her parents didn't know. She kept it a secret. They had no idea. Overruled. Okay. So they didn't know about the allegations. They just didn't believe them. Is that right? They asked me if it was true, and I said no. And they believed you, right? Correct. And then shortly after this DCFS investigation, there was also a police investigation. And you and your parents were interviewed by a detective, Detective Everett. Do you remember that? Vaguely. Okay. And that interview happened in Oak Park? Yes. And you deny any relationship with Mr. Kelly, right? Uh-huh. And you testified that you didn't want Robert to get in trouble, right? Correct. You were protecting him, right? Yes. You wanted to preserve the relationship too, right? Yes. As inappropriate as it was, you wanted to hold on to that relationship? Yes. And then at that point, the relationship or the strike that. At the point the investigation was closed as unfounded, and that was that, right? At that point, the investigation was closed as unfounded. And that was that, right? Yes. And despite all of that, you continue to spend significant amounts of time with Mr. Kelly, right? Yes. And I think you said he got a black PT Cruiser for you for your birthday and your parents were happy for you? Yes. Did your parents allow you to travel with Robert unsupervised when you were under 17? No. They would think that I was with him and his wife. So they did allow you to. That's not unsupervised. So I don't know what you mean by that exactly. Oh, I see. So I meant unsupervised by them. But you're saying that supervised by who? Kelly's wife? Yes. You testified that you had sex with Robert hundreds of times between the ages of, I think, 14 or 17 and 18. Is that right? Yes. That means you were spending a great deal of time with him, right? Yes. And again, you're still adamant that your parents at that point was blissfully unaware of this relationship, right? Yes, because they thought I was around the family. They didn't know I was spending time with him separately. Correct. Now, Jane, you testified that you had a number of threesomes with your friend Pinky and your friend Brittany when you were under 17 years of age. Yes. And you testified that Robert was absolutely adamant that your relationship was a secret, right? Yes. But according to you, he entrusted this secret with a bunch of other high schoolers, right? Yes. But according to you, he entrusted this secret with a bunch of other high schoolers, right? I would say those two people, not a bunch of other high schoolers, two other high schoolers. Is that your testimony? Yes. Okay. But wait. So he didn't trust his closest confidants, but you and a couple of high schoolers. He was willing to, engage in his conduct and entrust the secret with three high schoolers, right? Yeah. And you did have threesomes with Pinky and Brittany, but it wasn't until after you were over 17 years of age, right? No, it was before. And was that before? Wait. And when you had threesomes with Robert and his wife, was that over 17 years of age too? Yes. Drea, you a dirty ass. Ooh, Drea. Drea, you got on Surviving R. Kelly. You got on that goddamn thing and cried. And you was over here sleeping with these fucking girls too. Yo, Drea. Oh, Drea. Drea, they need to drag you, boy. Not physically. I'm talking about you need to be questioned. Yes. Now, you turned 17 on September. Remind me. I don't remember when I turned 17. Well, okay. It was 2001. Jennifer's crazy. Does that sound right? That sounds about right. It was before you testified before the grand jury, right? Yes. And then in 2002, you learned that someone had provided a copy of the tape that you are calling, or we calling the tape one yesterday, right? To a reporter, right? Yes. And that person is Sparkle, right? Can you repeat the question? That person that provided the tape was Sparkle. That's what I understand. And isn't it true that Sparkle made copies of that tape? That's what I understand. Do you know whether Sparkle's ever been indicted for her conduct? No. All right. Is this a good time to take a recess? Sure. Okay, we'll take a 15-minute recess. And they come back. Let me see something here. Jane, I want to go back just for a reference. After this video goes into the public, that must have been super upsetting to you, right? Yes. You said it was embarrassing, right? Correct. And it was after that happened that you and Robert and your parents had this emotional meeting in Oak Park, right? At a hotel. Is that correct? Yes. And you said that Robert broke down. Your father, was upset, and that your father told Robert, man, I can't help you, right? Yes. And Robert was apologetic, right? Yes. And he didn't threaten your parents, right? No. He was deeply remorseful during this meeting, right? Yes. And you were upset because you didn't want the relationship to end either, right? Right. And again, at this point, you're 17 years old. And at that point, you didn't need to hide your relationship anymore, correct? That was not my understanding at the time. I didn't know that. Okay, but you did. Certainly you didn't want the relationship to end, right? And you didn't want your parents to get in any type of trouble for anything, right? Right. You didn't want to get in trouble for anything, right? Correct. You didn't want Robert to get in trouble for anything, right? Right. And Robert, well, it was who came up with the idea, as far as you know, that maybe that this video was getting released into the public and was that, I'm sorry, that perhaps it was a good time to get out of town for a few weeks. Robert. Okay. And did he say, and I think you testified yesterday that he said, go and, think of it. Because your dad was like, I can't help you, man, right? Right. And when you and your parents then went to the Bahamas and Mexico, right? Yes. And this is supposed to have been this time of reflection about, what course we're going to take, what course you were going to take, right? Correct. You said you were in contact with Robert, but Robert didn't go on the trip with you, correct? Yes. That's correct. Right? That is correct. Okay. And it was during this period of time that you also got a tattoo with Robert's name or initials. Is that correct? It was his name. Yes. And you were very hopeful for a future relationship with Robert at this point. Yes, I did believe him. I did believe his promises. Yes. None of this makes sense. How did you want to get away from this terrible person, but you keep saying you wanted to stay in a relationship with him? At 17, you were a consenting adult in Chicago. So when you're having this conversation with him and the sex tape come out, you're already an adult. You're not a minor. You don't need your parents' consent to deal with him no more. So y'all going to Mexico is just to talk about basically maybe the tape, how y'all going to handle it. But you going to Mexico ain't to figure it out if you're going to still mess with him no more. You don't need your parents' permission no more. You emancipated. You're an adult now. Okay, you did have a future relationship with him. You ended up being with him for another 10 years, right? Yes. And the trip was a couple of weeks. Is that about right? Yes. Okay. And then you come back. The problem didn't go away, right? Right. Your parents still had to be interviewed by the police. Isn't that right? I can't remember. And in fact, they were interviewed by the police after they came back from the trip, correct? I can't remember how the setup was exactly. I'm not sure. Well, let's see if you remember this. Do you remember going with your parents for an interview with Chicago police detectives? Yes. And do you remember not speaking to them? You had a lawyer and you did not make any statements to the Chicago PD at that time. Objection, Your Honor. As to the foundation, as to the time frame, if we could just specifically specify when we're talking about. Sure. I can put I'm talking about March of 2002. Do you remember sitting down or going to the police station with your parents? Yes. Okay. And did you not speak to the Detective Everett at that time? Correct. I don't remember not speaking. Okay. Do you remember speaking? I don't remember speaking or not speaking. Got you. Do you remember your parents being interviewed? I actually don't remember that interaction all the way. Okay. But do you remember that you had a counsel and your parents had a counsel before you went there? Right? Yes. And you consulted with your counsel before this interview. Is that fair? Yes. And then it wasn't for a little bit, maybe like a month or so later, that you received a subpoena to testify before a grand jury, right? Right. And you had a counsel for that as well, correct? Yes. And you consulted with your counsel before you testified before that grand jury, correct? Yes. And you testified today and yesterday that you testified untruthfully, correct? Yes. Because you wanted to protect Robert, right? Yes. You were in love with him, right? Correct. And also you didn't want this to really terribly, and you also didn't want this really terrible, embarrassing tape to be associated with you, right? Correct. And you wanted to protect your parents too, right? Yes. Because there had already been a DSFS investigation and a police inquiry before, right? Right. So you had a number of your own reasons why you didn't want this to come out. Legitimate reasons, correct? Correct. And your parents too testified untruthfully, right? As far as you know. Yes. And they had their own reasons for not wanting it to come out too, correct? Objection, Your Honor. Again, her testified about what her parents' reasons were called for speculation. Well, it's pretty, her own reasons, obviously, overruled, it can stand. You had a conversation with your parents about this, right? Yes. And your mom did not want this to come out there, right? Correct. And your dad too, right? Okay. Now it's not until fast forward to, I guess, 2019 that you are actually now coming forward and telling the truth about this, right? Yes. And that's under the immunity deal with the government, correct? Yes, correct. And your immunity deal doesn't just cover you for your past perjury, right? It covers you really for anything you might be related to Mr. Kelly, or really anything related to your conduct as well, right? Can you repeat that? Hold on 1 second. Let me pull it up. First of all, you had your own counsel that negotiated on your behalf, right? Yeah. And your immunity deal basically says that nothing you say, Nothing you reveal during the course of your interviews with the government can be used against you in any way, right? As long as you come in here and you tell the truth, right? Yes. And they are arbiters of what the truth is. It's the truth as determined by the government, correct? I'm telling my truth. I don't know how it's determined after that. Well, I understand you're telling your truth, but it's the government that gets to decide whether your truth is the truth, right? Objection, Your Honor. It calls for speculation from the witness. Well, it's what her understanding is, but I think she answered it. She doesn't know. Well, and I'm going to mark this as, what are we at? Defendant Kelly, 103? 102. I'm going to ask you to look at the screen, Jane. Do you recognize this document? Yes. Okay. If you read the first paragraph to yourself, and then I'm going to ask you some questions. This is to help you refresh your recollection. Okay. Thank you. Let me know when you finish. I'm just reading the first paragraph, correct? Yeah, for now. Okay, I'm done. Okay. So it was your attorney who advised the government that you had information that may tend to incriminate you. So it was your attorney who advised the government that you had information that may tend to incriminate you. Am I right? Yes. All right. And the government agreed that none of that information that you relayed to them in connection with this case, so anything that you tell them will be used against you in any criminal prosecution. Isn't that right? Yes. And they even promised that no leads or information directly or indirectly derived from this investigation could be used against you in a criminal prosecution. Correct? I'm not exactly sure what that means. Well, you signed this document, right? I did. You presumably understood it when you signed it, right? Yes. If you can just rephrase how you're saying it so I can understand. Sure. Why don't I look at the second paragraph? And if you pursued it, it probably was a bad question on my part. So let me go ahead and read, and then I'll ask. Okay. So they agreed that no leads or information directly or indirectly derived from the information you provide can be used against you in some type of criminal prosecution, right? Yes. And the government didn't specify just perjury. The agreement is broader than that. It's pretty much anything can be used against you in a criminal prosecution, right? Yes. And then, if you could, please read the last paragraph there to yourself where it starts as stated. And let me know when you finish there. Okay. Okay. So the government says you have to tell truthful and complete testimony, but in the event that they determine that you violated this provision or they determine that you didn't give truthful testimony, then there would be consequences for that, right? Yes. So, is it them making the determination, not you? Correct? Okay. You can take that down. You testified yesterday that your parents weren't able to work when the tapes came out, but your identity wasn't associated with them. Why weren't they able to work? Because Robert asked them not to work because he didn't want attention being drawn to them, which is why we took the vacation as well. You took a vacation for 2 weeks. It wasn't prosecuted for 6 years later, right? I'm sorry. You took a vacation for 2 weeks. Right. After the case kind of blew up and he did that so you could go collect your thoughts and get some consideration, right? Yes. Okay. But the case wasn't prosecuted for another 6 years, right? Right. And it is your testimony that Robert said, don't work for 6 years? No. My dad was still a musician during that time, so he was still working. Gotcha. Yo, some of y'all get on the stand and don't be knowing that they can flip the question and get the answer out of you. Got you. Right. So he was working, correct? Yes. In fact, he was working on some of Robert's albums, but he was also working on other things as well, right? Yes. Girl, you just said he wasn't working, you fool. And there's nothing about your parents working that would draw attention to this because nobody knew who your parents were in connection to this, right? That's not true. Okay. How would your parents working bring attention to this prosecution? Because a lot of people knew that my father was a musician for Mr. Kelly, worked closely with him, that he was my godfather. We were in a local city. There were rumors, names, released, etc. Okay. And there was rumors swirling. And it's your position that Robert told your parents, don't work because there was rumors out there? No, initially when things first started happening, yes. Okay. But your parents did work. Like you went on vacation and then came back and you picked up your lives, correct? Eventually, yes. And that was all before 2008 prosecution, correct? Yes. A couple other things. I want to show you a picture before. Do you recognize that person? Yes. Who do you recognize that person to be? Robert's wife. Okay. Does that fairly and accurately depict Robert's wife at various, I guess, ages? Yes. You knew her for many years. You lived under her roof, right? Yes. Okay. I would ask that it be admitted, that it be published to the jury. No objection. Okay, yes. I'm sorry. This was his ex-wife too, right? Yes. Okay. He's not married to her anymore. Correct. In fact, he got divorced while he was with you, right? Yes. To be with you, correct? That wasn't my understanding. It was because their marriage didn't work. Oh. Yo, this girl, don't get me wrong, y'all. A gazillion % R. Kelly is wrong for messing with this girl when she was underage. 1 gazillion %. 1 gazillion %. But after she done got older and was And R. Kelly was going, let me just go. Let me just, Drea. Okay, he's not married to her anymore, correct. In fact, he got divorced while he was with you, right? Yes. To be with you, right? That wasn't my understanding. It was because their marriage didn't work. All right. And you testified that when you lived under her roof as an adult, that there were sexual interactions between you and her and Mr. Kelly, right? Correct. You could take Dre a picture now. And I want to show you a picture of, and do you recognize this woman? Yes. And who is this woman? My Aunt Stephanie, also known as Sparkle? Correct. Does this fairly represent Sparkle at various ages? Yes. Okay, I would like to ask to get this I'd ask that this be admitted and published. No objection. Okay, and no objection. Okay, you may publish it. Thank you. This is Sparkle that you have said that she encouraged you to ask Robert to be your godfather and had you sit in his lap and rub his head and all of that, right? Yes. Do you speak to Sparkle today? No. You can take that down. You can take Sparkle pictures down. And finally, do you recognize this woman here? No. Okay. This is Government Exhibit 106. Would you agree that this appears to be a woman with a scarf that is excuse me. Would you agree that this appears to be a woman in a scarf that is in a checkered pattern? Yes. And you don't have no idea, any idea who this woman is, right? No. Okay. You can take it down. She doesn't know who it is. You testified yesterday that sometimes, and I think you said in connection with video too, that Robert gave you Cristal a drink. Is that right? I can't remember the number of the video, but that did happen, yes. And you said you watched all the videos. Is that right? I did. Did you ever see Cristal in any of those videos? Like a bottle or glasses? Yes, anything. Yes. I was drinking out of a glass. It was in one of the videos. Yes. It was a tumbler of, it was like a big plastic cup, right? It was a glass cup. It wasn't like a champagne glass, right? No. Okay. It was your testimony that it wasn't juice or water. Correct? Correct. It was just a big cup of Cristal. Correct. And since you've been cooperating or, agreeing to be cooperative with the government, you also asked the government for help just even in the last couple of years, right? Yes. Assistance. They're giving you money, right? When I'm on their behalf, yes. Yes. They have provided you with money since you've been cooperating with their investigation, right? No. No. I mean, if you can be a little bit more specific, I can answer better, but they just don't give me, just hand me money. They giving you benefits, right? Yes. Okay. What have they given you since the beginning of these investigation as a benefit? As a benefit, they've helped me with housing, and they've just, if I have to travel to come for any reason, like just for food or travel expense or parking or something. Anything else? Not that I could think of, no. And when you say that they help you with your housing, they helped you get Section 8 housing, didn't they? Yes. And Section 8 housing is pretty good benefit, isn't it? It is. And you can have that for a lifetime, right? I'm not aware of that. Section 8 housing, it isn't easy to get that, is it? Hell no. And they paid for your down payment for the Section 8 housing? Yes. Yes. They helped me with living because I was not working at the time. I was not able to. I was afraid for my safety with cooperating with them. So that was a way of them making sure my son and I were secure. Speaking of your son, you sent pregnancy photos of yourself to the former U.S. attorney, right? Yes, I did. That was for also Crow. Are you referring to Angel? Angel, yeah. Yes, yes. You are on that type of level of familiar. You were on that type of level that you were familiar that you sent her your, like it was your bare belly. I'm not exactly sure what picture I sent, but they have seen me in a pretty negative light. So I thought it was okay to share something positive with them. And she said you were glowing. You look lovely, right? Yes. And she calls you by your nickname, Boss Baby, right? Yes. She referred to me as that before, but that's not what she calls me. Give me 1 second. One last area, Your Honor. I'm going to have you look at, I guess we're at Defendants 105, Exhibit 105, just to show it to the witness, please, first. I'm going to scroll through this and I want you to look at it and tell me if you recognize these text messages exchanges, okay? Okay, I'm done. All right, go to the next page. Okay, okay. Almost finished? Okay. I think that's the last page. Okay. Do you recognize these text messages with the Assistant State's Attorney, Angel Crow? Yes. Okay, do you fairly do they fairly and accurately represent your messages with the former state's attorney? When I say former, I mean she's not on this team here, right? Correct. And do you fairly and accurately depict those messages? Yes. Okay. Your Honor, at this time, I would like to admit them and publish them. I just have 3 questions I want to ask her about. All right. They admitted. You may publish. Okay, go to the first page. The Assistant State's Attorney has this. This has you in her phone as Boss Baby, right? Yes. Yo, why I got the damn the state's attorney got this girl locked in her phone as Boss Baby? Oh, why? Yo, and you know R. Kelly's getting railroaded. If they got that type of relationship, like, come on, dog. R. Kelly ain't got a win in hell. If they gave this girl free living for a lifetime, money, yo, he's screwed. Man, Jennifer's doing a great job here to showing how effed up this system is. Okay. Yes. Is that what she called you? She referred to me to that as sometimes, yes. Okay, boss baby, okay. And I see that you were using emojis too. I guess a heart emoji to communicate that you loved her message or something like that. Yes. And this is how you communicated pretty typically with the U.S. attorney? Yes. On another page, she referred to you as BB, right? Correct. That's like boss baby? Yes. And then if you go to the last page, you ask her, did Amelia share the pictures? What pictures are you referring to? My pregnancy photos. Okay, so the assistant U.S. attorney says, just one, the green outfit, so beautiful. You are glowing. I'm very happy and excited for you, right? Yes. Okay. And were these professionally taken pregnancy photos? Yes. Okay, and again, this was the nature of your relationship with the U.S. attorney when you were leading up to this trial, right? This reflects that, right? Yes. Y'all talked on the phone too, right? Yes. Okay. And did you have a conversation about the restitution with her on the phone? No. Well, not that I can remember over the phone. Who did you talk to about restitution? The restitution was, I actually can't remember how it started out. From what I think I remember is that we were in person when that was presented to us. Oh, okay. And she presented it to you, right? Yes. Okay. And I have one, and I'm finished, Judge. And when you say us, who are you referring to? Who are you talking about? Oh, I'm sorry. Can you refresh my memory on when I said that? You just said that. You said she was talking to us. Well, the other person who were in the room as at the time. You're talking about your friends, right? No. What friends? I'm confused. Who is the us? So there were multiple people in the room with Angel at the time that she and I had the conversation. So I'm referring to everyone who was in the room at the time. And I'm asking you, who are the us? Oh, well, me and my parents. Okay. So your parents also are due for restitution as well, right? No, you're confusing me. I'm sorry. I'm thinking you're talking about the immunity letter, not restitution. Okay. I got confused. I apologize. It's all right. Can you repeat that for me so I can? Sure. I just want to answer clearly. Yes. Who told you about restitution that you were entitled to? Angel. Okay. And when did that conversation take place? That was in person during our meeting. My lawyer was actually involved in that conversation as well. Okay. Anyone else? Not that I can remember. Not sure though. And how much time was spent talking about restitution? I didn't understand it, so it wasn't much time spent on it at all. I actually got clarity through my lawyer. Got you. Okay. And finally, just for clarity's sake, you were also provided from the U.S. Attorney's Office flights to and from Florida, right? With your cousin, correct? Yes. She was there with me, yes. And you got expenditures you got expeditions for hanging out in Florida too, right? No, not at that time. I was afraid for my safety. So they let me decide where I would like to go and be away from everything that was getting ready to take place. That's correct. Well, when was this? This was during the arrest, I believe. So, well, this was in June 2019, right? That sounds about right. Hold on. Mr. Kelly was arrested before June of 2019, right? I'm not sure. Objection, Your Honor, in terms of what arrests we're talking about. 2 arrests have been talked about in this case, in 2002 in this case. Okay, after. Clarify that. I'm sorry. Clarify it then. All right. After Mr. Kelly was arrested in 02, the early part, in the early part of 2019, he made bond, right? Yes. Are you aware of that? Yes. He didn't make any contact with you, right? No. That's correct. That's correct, right? That is correct. Okay. So because of Mr. Kelly being arrested, you were able to go to Florida and vacation with your cousin to get out of, it wasn't to get out of Dodge, right? It wasn't just about that. With the attention, with everything that was with the documentary, and the people were approaching me and my family and me changing numbers and everything, all of the attention that brought, that was the reason why I left the state. Not because R. Kelly got out of bond. Okay. And then your father got some benefits too, right? My parents were also going through the same thing that I was. So they did leave town as well. Y'all got out of town because R. Kelly got out of jail. Fuck. And the government flew him out so he couldn't talk to them. Yo, this is crazy, dog. Gave them money, gave them housing. Yo, man. They made sure they could set his ass up this time, boy. My parents were also going through the same thing that I was. So they did leave town as well. And the government paid for that, right? I believe so. Yeah. And then we talked about ultimately you got assistance with your Section 8 housing. But that's locally, right? Yes. All right. I think this might be it, Your Honor. Give me 1 second. Is that it? Redirect? Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, we asked if the defense counsel can pull up the last exhibit they just had on the screen. The text messages? Yes, please. The boss baby text messages? Yeah, I love Jennifer. Yes. Jane, can you see that on the screen? Yes. And those text messages, what are you talking about? I'm just going to reread it. 1 second. Yep. The whole thing or just this one screenshot? This screenshot. We were talking about scheduling time where I needed to come in to speak with the assistant district attorney or whatever her name is. She just said AO. Can you get to the next page, please? Are you talking about scheduling generally here to? Yes. Can you go to the next one, please? You can go to the next page. And what are you talking about here? Scheduling again. Scheduling again? Yes. Can you go to the next? And again, what are your messages about here? Scheduling. Can you go to the next message, please? Okay, and what are you talking about here? The trial date. The upcoming trial date, that the trial we're in right now, is that correct? For this case? Correct. Can you go to the next message, please? Again, and what are you talking about there? The trial. Can you go to the next one, please? Are you talking about the schedule? What are you talking about? The court date and updates in this case are? Yes. Can you go to the next message, please? Again, are you talking about scheduling these text messages? Yes. Can you go to the next one? Are you talking about scheduling to meet? Yes. Can you go to the next one? Are you talking about scheduling time to meet? I'm sorry, can you repeat that? Are you talking about yes? Can you go to the next one, please? Yes. Can you go to the next one? Are you talking about scheduling? Yes. And Angel getting on the line with Amelia or Melissa so that she can talk with you. Correct. Can you go to the next message, please? In the next one, it says there's a name that Amelia. Who is Amelia? She works with Homeland Security. And it says Chris. Who is Chris? My attorney. And the other message said, hey, Melissa, who is that? She works for Homeland Security as well. And they're agents that were working on the case? Correct. Can you go to the next message, please? And what are these pictures are you talking about? My pregnancy photos. I believe that's the last message, correct. You could take that down. And just a few questions for you. Were you asked direct about having counsel to go to the grand jury, the state grand jury back in 2002? Do you remember those questions? Yes. Who provided that lawyer for you? Robin. You testified you were asked questions in cross-examination about wires and checks that you received money for to help you pay your rent. Is that right? Yes. And who did you talk to about receiving those rental payments? Robert. And who agreed to make those payments to you for your rent? Robert. And you were asked on cross-examination about your contact with Mr. Kelly around 2019. Do you remember those questions? Yes. You said that you called Robin because you were afraid about the situation with the tapes that you heard about, new tapes that the Cook County have received. Yes. What were you afraid about? The situation resurfacing and another tape being released of he and I sexually engaging. And what? Strike that. Strike that. You were asked on cross-examination that back when you were 14, 15, and 16, you were denying your relationship with the world. Do you remember being asked those questions? Yes. And at that time, you were at that age, who instructed you to deny your relationship with Robert Kelly to the world? Robert. And again, you were asked about, let me see. And again, you were asked about the DCF and CPD interviews that happened in 2000. Do you remember those questions? Yes. And that you were wanting to continue your relationship with Mr. Kelly at that time. Yes. Do you remember those questions? Yes. How old were you at that time? About 16, 17, 16, 15, or 16. You were asked some questions on cross-examination about what you were able to were you able to do after the 2008 trial, what Mr. Kelly allowed you to do after the 2008 trial. Do you remember those questions? Yes. What did Mr. Kelly allow you to do during the trial? Nothing. Where did you stay? Where did you sleep? And where did you stay that time during the trial? I was in the garage in Olympia Fields that was turned into a gym, and I was in the office space in the house back and forth. Were there other places that you stayed during the trial when the trial was going on? Hotels. Where? Safe to say the suburbs of Chicago? Yes. And were you staying in hotels during the trial? And why were you staying in hotels during the trial? Because I was not to be in the house with all of the possibilities of things that were happening legally. You weren't supposed to be seen. Is that what you're saying? Yes. This is wrapping up, Your Honor. Now, those text messages that you were shown on cross-examination between you and Mr. Kelly, those were text messages in 2018. Is that correct? Yes. And about how old were you in those in 2018? I was in my late 20s, early 30s. In your 30s, yes. What was Mr. Kelly's reaction to you as you saw him in those text messages in 2018 where you were suggesting that you two get together? I'm going to object. I mean, the text message has been admitted. If she's asking her to characterize, I think that's improper. My question was, I don't know. Overruled. Go ahead. All right, y'all. I'm going to stop right here because this shit is long as hell. All right. I'll come back. Well, a question about these text messages. We going to have a hell of a panel talking about this stuff because, man. This is pathetic, dog. Like, the government is doing so much just to get this man to convict. Like, this is horrible. And it shows you that a broke motherfucker ain't shit on God. Like, you ain't got no money to help people no more. They will turn against you, man. It is so sad, man. I mean, it is so sad. Yo, this is too much, man. You know, but we're gonna come back with it tomorrow, 7 o'clock. Y'all already know it's 50-year anniversary of hip hop next year. I'm doing 50 moments in hip hop on the hour. You know what I'm saying? From 4 to 10 o'clock at night. Y'all check on the hour on my YouTube channel. You know what I'm saying? Or, you know, I can watch live, ChokeNoJokeProductions.com. On my Patreon, y'all already know. All right. We're gonna come back tomorrow and continue with this, man. This is crazy, B. Thanks for all the donations. Choke No Jokes, the Cash App, on the PayPal right there. Yo, man. I'm going to go back and watch the replay of this so I can read y'all in the live chat because I can't watch the live chat and read this. So I don't even be looking at myself. I'm just reading the joint or whatever. But this is something else. This girl been with R. Kelly all her life. She's not a victim at this point. At a young age, she was a victim. At this point, she grown to love this man and been in a relationship and been taking care of this man all the way up until she's almost 40 years old. This is the parents are pathetic. The parents are pathetic. Oh, the parents are pathetic. I'm sorry. And I got to go, y'all. I've been having to use the bathroom for I don't know how long. And I got to go. So I got to go. Thanks for the love. Moderator his squad. Love y'all.
Oh, yeah.
Y'all in a minute. One love.
My man had to come through and make sure it went through. Y'all niggas is in trouble. Choke No Joke. I ain't no joke, the mixtape. We here now. You already know. Let's go. Choke chillin', got away from the building. Ain't shit really changed though, I'm still that villain. I'm making money with rhyme, fuck black on black crime. Beef and money don't mix, like Muslims and swine. I'm talking milk, penicillin, y'all be illin'. Y'all be thinking y'all killers, with your school face grillin'. Kick that bullshit to me, y'all be wet though like Bruce Lee. And Brandon and Hearst on the highway to heaven. Man, you making mad threats and stuck in one section. I'm OBP like Naughty. Making connections, talking under your breath, get you something you don't need. 2 fully loaded Macs, filled up with heat. Nigga, you sweeter than 30 days for a body. Pop shit to these niggas, see me walk by me. But I ain't looking for no beef, I don't eat bologna. But I bring a whole cow if you run up on me. Shiesty, try me and hype me to peel your wig back like 10 cent icy. Bring it, stop bluffing, I got you threats, they mean nothing. I respond like Bond, I come through, I'm bombing. Playing bodegas, flipping Montega. You tan in the Jacks, I tan in Jamaica. Faker, wouldn't bust if he raped ya. Your chick out blazed her, hit it like Jada. While you blew up a pager, had to breathe like Vader. Your star at war, with the lightsaber. I'm here to lyrically tear your red, nigga, you a spear. I jack you up, now you out of here. Throw me on the 600. Now fucking nigga humming, blowing down 8th Ave with a bad bitch blunted. I take it there. Y'all niggas don't want it. Y'all niggas don't want it. Y'all niggas don't want it with no joke. Who you thought it be? Represent the NYC. Bring it on if you niggas want some of me. Have y'all niggas feeling it like Jay-Z. No joke. Who you thought it be? Represent the NYC. Bring it on if you niggas want some of me. Bronze King like the LORDFINESSE. And that bullshit y'all do, y'all niggas don't stress me. Oh yeah, and you already know, Eden War what it is. Choke, no joke, I ain't no joke. The mixtape, we here now. Yeah, choke no joke, you know what it is. Learn from mistakes out right now on all platforms. This one right here is for the mixtape. Let's go. Yo, Nas, I ain't do this for clout. I'm just a real nigga trying to figure you out. How you don't put blood in this Judas mouth. Talking Japanese wine like you fanning out. Blushing at this bitch that disrespects your kid and her earth. Calming, I know that it hurt. You said Pac left us with rappers that wink at other rappers in the studio, which made me think, yo, what he got on you? And homie in pink, cause at Webster Hall, he didn't stream one link. Yo, y'all glutton for punishment. I'm sick and I'm done with it. If it was part of your plan, Nas, pardon my word on it, I'm just your fan. With little celebrity, some say it's just the hate in me. Nah, I'm cut from a cloth. You don't brush shit off. Well, the penthouse of law gotta have a ceiling. Only forgive hoes with sexual healing. And that thought right now is not appealing. With these chicks, with the dicks like Little Nas X, I'm not a fan. You damaged your brand. Yo, Nas, don't ever do that shit again. I'm signing off. Esco stand. Yeah. Choke no joke, you know what it is. Haha, you know what it is. Oh yeah, and you nigga, I ain't sorry for shit. I ain't with your boys' games, nigga, I'm with the shits. I'm nothing like Nas, I'm with the shits. I'm more like Jungle, wanting to bust your shit. But bro got me on chill. He said I'm illmatic, with the static, with the ratchets. Let's go to Brooklyn, cause he gotta have it. School days, would've called you faggot and smoked you like a Spike Lee joint. Yo, the greatest of all timers, got hit with all timers. You buster, nigga, your mic with the shiner. Knockout. Yeah, one-liners, give you a reason to be a one-eyer without reasonable doubt. You been a liar, you headache Kane, Jazzo inspired, Rape Dame and Chris, then ran the lion through the rock and the fire. Damn, you cold, built the nation, the prop back home. How you the king of LA when Cube is home? How you bang in LA after Nip is gone? Mr. Smith, yeah, I'm nice with the gift, too. The double entendres got those too. Your wisdom, knowledge, that I'm king too. I'm sorry I met the other side of you. That's the gift and the curse. I'm Christ from birth. From the hearse to the dirt, fake niggas claim hurt. So I stay on my bullshit like I'm dirt and never shy. Let my feelings fly. Let's go. Cause we all die. Like your beds. Nigga, I'm here. Only fear I have is truth not be told. We all get old. It's choke, no joke. Y'all already know. Let's go. Choke, no joke. You already know. Learn from mistakes out right now on all platforms. This for the mixtape. The 50-year-old platinum virgin.